Let's do a quick mic check.
All right.
How's that feel?
Check, testing 1, 2, 3. It feels fantastic.
Damn, you got a good voice.
I know. I have the radio voice.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Do a mic check, Doug.
Check, testing 1, 2, 3.
I can't mic check that. That was like mic check, mic check.
What's up, guys? Sorry for the brief interruption. I wanted to take a second to say, please like and subscribe to the show. Leave us a comment. It helps us grow in a major way. And we just added something new to the podcast. Send me a text message. Let me check the number. 661-276-8043. You guys will get access to content before anyone else, and I'll send you something funny. Now let's get back to the show. Whoosh. Man, you have such a radio voice.
Yeah, it's something that I was born with, I guess. I don't know. I listened to a lot of different things growing up, you know, Larry King and stuff, you know, like really late night type stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Larry King, man.
Yeah,
rest in peace, bro.
One of the best.
I could not, I mean, obviously he's getting up there in age, but I remember, you know, when he passed just recently. It's sad, man. It's like he was an icon. I remember growing up with my family just watching him.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, so it's like, and it's so crazy to see how everything is like changed, right? Like, you know, it's back then those types of interviews were on TV, and now we have this, and then radio, and now we have this whole world of podcasting, which we were talking about
right. And it's interesting how that became so popular. You know, I didn't realize that so many people are listening to radio. I haven't had a car or listened to radio in so long. You got to understand that I have been living outside the U.S. for almost over 20 years.
Jeez, man.
So I don't know if we've started or not.
Yeah, we're rolling, we're rolling.
But yeah, I haven't lived in the U.S. for over 20 years. So a lot has changed, and coming back and seeing, you know, these different changes, it's incredible. I was living in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That's incredible.
For a majority of that time, but also in Prague and also in Amsterdam.
I freaking love Amsterdam, man. I love my wife, and I love Amsterdam. We went on for our honeymoon, we went on a 38-day European just trip, 11 cities, 7 countries.
So how does that work? Like what? They have it all mapped out for you?
No.
Oh, you did it.
I did it.
Okay.
I did
so
it.
it wasn't through like a group.
No. But that'd be awesome, though, if there was.
What? It was like, all right, group, we're going here today. Like, check it out.
Let's go. Are you ready? Hop on the bus.
I'm almost ready. I'm almost there. It's like, where's this going? Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? Ladies and gentlemen. So I mapped it all out, because what we did is she was in charge of the wedding and I was in charge of the honeymoon. We kind of made a deal on that. And so it was really nice. And so I just planned it all out.
So where did you start?
So we flew into London, because when I was 17 years old, I for a summer went and lived with a friend's family in London and had the time of my life. And
of course.
It was epic. And so we started there, and I just like took her around. So we spent like 3 or 4 days there. Then we went into Paris, you know, France.
Of course, you got to do it.
Absolutely.
Paris stop.
Good old Paris stop.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days there. Then went to Disneyland, so on the outskirts of Paris.
Right.
So we did 2 days there. From there, we went to Amsterdam.
Oh, the damn.
Gosh, man, I remember getting on the train, and when we landed, I just started crying. I literally started crying. I was so fucking happy. I made it.
Did you know anything about Amsterdam before going?
Other than weed and prostitution? No, I mean, and Frank.
And what year was this around?
This was 2015.
Oh, okay, wow, yeah, because I lived there in 1999.
Yeah, just 2000. A little bit of a difference.
Okay, yeah.
but still, it was incredible, man.
Yeah, it's an incredible place.
Yeah, 2016. No, 2016? Whatever. It was just recently, 5 years ago.
So Amsterdam, you were there for how long?
4 days.
4 days.
Wanted to stay longer. Like it was such an incredible time. From there, took the train into Berlin.
Nice. Ja.
Ja, yes.
Das ist sehr gut. That's a super geil. Ja.
We were there for 3 days, and then rented a Audi A6, went on the Autobahn, went down to Munich.
I'm assuming that's a car.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't know. I'm sorry.
I'm definitely not a car person at all.
Me neither, but I just wanted something that went fast.
Right.
I rented a different car, but they were sold out. So, so then from there, I was there for 3 days. Then we took the train into Venice, Italy.
Beautiful.
Fucking loved it. Truly, there was a moment. We were probably there it was like our second day there. And my wife and I, we've been together for 17 years now, right? So we'd been together for like 12 or 13
Congratulations.
Thank you. And high school sweethearts. And we were just thinking about life and like how fast life is and like how fast this trip has already gone.
And it goes much faster the older you get.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yes, unfortunately.
The concept of time starts to come into play. You're like, I'm getting a better understanding of this thing called life. You know?
And then it's gone, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, oh my God, it's too late.
Yes.
What was I doing with my time?
That's why it's like so important, right? To like
absolutely.
really appreciate every
That's
moment.
why you always hear like those deathbed confessions, like, I wish I would have done this. What was I thinking? You know,
fuck that, man.
Yeah, okay.
Living life in no regret.
So you had that.
We had that, and so we were holding each other, and we were just crying because, like, we know, like, as quick as we were saying it, like, we're gonna be at the end, right, one day, right, and we're so like connected. So it was just beautiful. So from there, we took the train into Rome. Yes. I remember, and we stayed in Airbnbs the entire time. So it was like really fucking cool because we got to experience the city and not a hotel. And I remember just like walking around, I don't remember what street we were on, but like we made a right and there's the Colosseum. And I'm just like, my mind is blown. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? And so from there we went to Naples and Pompeii. And like Pompeii is it's just a mind fuck, right?
Right.
Because it's like it's a long time ago, but it's really not in like the whole scheme of life or of the world, right? Then from there we flew to Athens and we stayed in Athens.
Yeah,
yes,
great.
It was so crazy because I remember
it's a crazy city.
It is, but what's really nuts is that we were walking through a park and we're like, we see a dog off a leash, a dog off a leash, dog off a leash, dog off a leash, and they don't kill the dogs there. At least back then they didn't euthanize them.
Right.
And so like they just had like feeding centers and it was like more like the dogs were like fucking birds. Like you don't think about birds, right? But like the dogs and the cats, they don't fucking kill them. And so like they are really docile and like there's some big fucking dogs just walking around living their life. We're just like fucking taken back by that. And but so yeah, we made some really good friends there. We got tatted, we got a few tattoos there.
Wow.
It was really cool. Yeah. Still talk to them to this day through social media. And then we took a boat to an island, and I'm fucking Aina, the island of Aina. Just spent the day there. Awesome. I remember like we rented like an ATV and she's like on the back and I remember like pulling up to this lighthouse and there's like no one around. And I just put on like our wedding song. We're just like holding each other, like dancing. It's just like so fucking beautiful, man.
Wow.
And then we flew back to London, right?
Okay.
And so the reason I was going to London before our last stop is I was going to a hardcore festival.
Oh, wow.
And the crazy thing is that so we get to the Airbnb, we get all dressed up, we're ready to go. And I fucking forget the name of the street, right? But I thought that the festival was in this town. Well, I guess that it wasn't that town. That's just the name of the street. It was like 4 hours north. Are you fucking kidding me? Like I was just like so mad and annoyed, but we still had a great time. And then we flew to Barcelona and ended our trip. And I love Barcelona. Barcelona, yes. Right? It was just I don't know, the people there, the culture, the food, everything about it. I remember our last night on the trip and we were eating like on like the beach and we were just crying our fucking eyes out. Like it came, it went, and it was the best experience of my entire life. Right?
Wow. It sounds like it. It sounds like an adventure.
It was the adventure of a lifetime. And what's crazy though is I remember like there was a point in time where I could remember every single bit of that trip, right? Now, the longer it gets, the more and more of a blur it gets.
Absolutely, but that's natural.
It is.
It's some. I mean, something that's pretty fascinating. You know, your memory changes over time.
It does. I wish it's like I wish our brains sometimes are, and sometimes they don't, but like a hard drive, like we could just like store files, right? And eventually,
I think a lot of it is there, but since we're consistently changing, transforming, then it's impossible for everything to stay the same. I think it's just human evolution.
It is
like everything on this planet.
100%.
Right.
What are you gonna say?
Oh no, I was gonna say that. I was agreeing because I mean, just in the man's mind, we compartmentalize everything.
Right.
Yes.
So with your memories, you're remembering those key factors that really touched your heart, and you'll always hold on to those. Yeah, you might miss out on the filling ins, but that's also how our mind works as men.
That's how it is.
And I mean, they say genetically, we compartmentalize. All right, this is important, safe.
Yeah.
This is not. I forgot about you. And then when our wives or significant others ask you like, "Hey, I thought I told you about this." Oh, yeah, that got thrown in the trash compartment. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I forgot about that one.
It's true. Yeah. Okay, but that's enough about me. All right, let's
I'm sorry, I was getting an interview face like, so tell me about yourself.
I know. Wait, is this about me? Is this Brock's story?
sorry.
Back to your story.
Welcome. All right, so tell me, where does your story start, man? Where does it all begin?
Well, it all starts in a small town called Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland?
You might have heard of it.
No, never.
It's somewhere in the Midwest. They call it the Midwest, but it's not really the Midwest. It's a little bit north, close to Canada.
Yes,
lying
sir.
on Lake Erie, across from a place called Canada.
Canada?
But yeah, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
All right.
And so, I guess it would start with my parents. They're pretty interesting people. My father was born in the South and my mother was born in the North. And the reason why I say North and South is because they're from that time period where things were radically different with the North and South. My father grew up in a time period where there were black bathrooms, white bathrooms, everything was segregated, So that was, really not that long ago.
No, not at all.
And so I would have to go south to visit family, and I was always fearful just because I had a lot of friends. I grew up in the North, and it was just a different type of culture and a little nerve-ending at times because I was feeding into a lot of the stereotypes that go along with the South.
Yeah.
But since I had a chance to grow up going there every summer and knowing my father's side of the family, I realized that those are all stereotypes and just not true. A lot of times people would talk about certain things that they felt that they were knowledgeable about, and they weren't at all.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that more and more throughout life. But at a young age, I started to realize that it's like these people don't know what they're talking about.
No.
It's like all these things are just related to certain things they heard and everything. So anyway, my father grew up there, 9 brothers and sisters, big family, grew up relatively poor, on a farm. Very humble. My father's name was Friendly.
Really?
Friendly
dope.
Green.
Friendly Green. Are you serious?
Like everyone at a young age, like, yo, that's a killer name, bro.
It is.
Friendly Green. I didn't
Friendly
understand.
Green.
I didn't smoke weed there. It's just like, they were just like, Friendly Green. That's so badass, man. And I was like, I guess so.
Yeah,
I was like a straight edge kid, like, hey, yeah, whatever, man. He's really friendly though. And so, and my mother was born in the North. She was born in Cleveland, and my father was born in Georgia. And she had one brother, my Uncle Steve, who was really one of the first actually plant-based person that I ever met.
Wow.
And that was so many years ago, and I just didn't really understand that. But anyway, they met in a church. They were pretty religious, and they were married, and they were together, and they never drank or smoke.
Wow.
Never swore in the house. My mother was a teacher, and my father ended up being an electrician, which is really bizarre.
Okay.
Yeah, he went from living on a farm, kind of like going around the country, coming to the North. And there was something that he really adapted to, electronics. It was something that just really, I don't know, it was very easy for him.
Yeah.
So he started teaching at like a school with like very bad kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like one of those
yeah,
type of schools.
Yeah, like a school I went to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And And that was really, he had no fear really. He was just really a type of person that didn't think about those type of things. He didn't complain about anything.
Very strong man.
Yeah. And he wasn't, I'd never see him angry or lose his temper.
Wow.
Ever. Like never, never complaining, never losing his temper. Just kind of like head down doing work. Not really saying, like I love you and things like that, but just kind of showing that through hanging out.
Yes.
Through action.
Yeah.
Let's go to the park and play, just not even saying it's like, oh, okay, let's go here.
Yeah.
And just really being there, very supportive, both parents being very supportive. My mother pretty much taking on the reins of the person of finding the place for us to live, the best place, the best schools, because she was a music teacher. That's amazing, man. And so that's how I really got introduced into music, was really through her. Just playing at home. We had a piano. And she was consistently playing, classical music, and she was also playing in church. Okay. So it was like gospel and classical, were the first things I was hearing at home. And she was teaching you? Yeah, she wanted to teach me, but how kids are like, I want to go out and play. Why am I inside? Why are you doing this to me? It's like torturing me with these first world problems, like the piano in my house. It's so I know. That's exactly what I heard.
Like, you're fucking kidding me. Did you, because you specifically said North and South, at a young age, did you understand what was going on? Did you face things, living where you live?
I didn't really face anything, but I guess it became evident to me when we moved. Like, we were living in Cleveland, and it was different at that time period. I have two brothers. I have one brother and one sister. And so things were different back then. It was easier for a family, I guess like a black family, to have there was a middle class that existed in like the 50s and 60s in America, where it was a little bit easier for a lot of people to have like a car, a house, the basic,
100%,
and people were living decently, and that was that time. And so we were living in Cleveland, the actual inner city, and it wasn't bad. You knew all your neighbors, everybody knew everyone, but then things started to go really badly. Wow. My sister is 10 years older than I am. I'm 50, and so she started going to public school, high school, and so there were kids smoking weed, drinking 40 ounces, and it was, my mother was just not having that. Yeah. She was like, oh man, she can't go to school here. We got to move to a neighborhood where if you live in that neighborhood, then you can go to certain schools.
Yes, yeah.
So I was probably 7 or so, and they decided to move to an area called Shaker Heights, a suburb of Cleveland. And so in that suburb, you pay higher tax. It's an incredible historic place. They have the best public schools in the country.
Wow.
It was known for being so radical in that, of creating an atmosphere, a neighborhood, or an area where you have a lot of wealthy, middle class to very wealthy people living there, a suburb of Cleveland, that was designed specifically for that.
For its education?
But it was designed basically for integration, as far as having a diversity of different people living there. At first, it was primarily for really rich people. Then they decided, like, okay, let's try to integrate this into something that's very different from all the other places in the country. So it was basically, like I grew up, it was 30% Jewish people there. We didn't have like Santa Claus around the school or, like Merry Christmas and just
Merry
completely
Christmas.
like, oh my God, they're completely disrespectful. Like,
no, they're like, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yeah.
Exactly
what he said.
Exactly. I worked in a lot of synagogues, and I worked a lot of mitzvahs, and I had, like one of my first friends was David Lissauer, and I'm still friends with him. And he was like,
that's awesome.
And he was like, hey man, introduce me to the Beatles, And I was like, what's this? He was like, oh, check out this Yellow Submarine album. And it blew my mind. I was like, you don't have a Christmas tree? He's like, of course not. And I was just like, oh, I get it. You get a lot of stuff in different days. And, it was like at a very young age, it just became very normal to me. But I didn't realize the rest of the state
Yeah.
And a lot of the country was very different.
Yes, very different.
And so, you know, especially when I started playing sports and things like that, I started going to other schools and seeing that. And I was like, wow, oh my God, you know, this is radically different. But growing up there, it changed the game. You know, it was my first time being introduced to white people. You know, until I was 7, I only knew black people.
Wow.
So it was a little bit just
culture shock.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of a culture shock. I wasn't terrified. I was just like,
no,
this is weird.
No, but you're 7 years old. Yeah, it's just such, our brains are the size of a pea. You know, you can't comprehend
and
things.
people in that neighborhood and everything was a time when people would come over with cookies and cakes. Like, oh, welcome to the neighborhood.
So it didn't matter about your color.
No, not in there. Not in Shaker.
The next door neighborhood, maybe.
Yeah. And that's what I realized as I got older. I was like, okay, this place is very different. Very special. I mean, there was a planetarium at my school.
What the?
And other schools I would go to, and they didn't know what a planetarium was, let alone be able to pronounce it.
Planetarium.
They were just like a plan of what? And it was you know, we had Olympic sized swimming pool. You know, we had like a teacher. For example, my English literature teacher was Miss Heasley, and she was directly from the UK.
Wow.
You know, and so we had, you know, a Spanish teacher, and she was from Cuba. You know?
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, my French teacher, Madame Lu, she was from France, and she was like bitter French, though. That was not good.
Yes.
You know, as a young kid, because you have many questions.
But you remember their names, so they obviously...
I have a weird memory of teachers, because they blew my mind. Like, it was so important. School in general for my entire family. It was just, and also I had relatives that were teachers. My mother was a teacher, a music teacher. And so I remember these names. I remember all my elementary school teachers, junior high, every teacher pretty much.
Jesus,
I have a weird memory for
remember. Yeah, no.
They just stick in my head.
There's only a couple, and there's specific reasons, right? So, but yeah. So when you moved there, going through that experience, how long did you live there, and what was it like for? I mean, were you like the only black kid, or
no? It was definitely mixed. Okay. You know, completely. The high school is like almost like 50-50.
Are you freaking kidding me? So this is all by design, because the rest of the country is not like this.
No.
But it just goes to show, right? If you can design something like that, look how well, I'm sure, like you said, it's like some of the best schools. And to the day, it's still.
Best school. I mean, it was fascinating. You know, 98% of the people graduated, went on to universities, but Ivy League schools. You know, a majority of all the. I mean, there's people that went to my high school, like Paul Newman was a graduate of Shaker. Wow. There's some people from like SNL.
Wow.
And you know, it's fascinating. You know, it has a big history.
Yeah.
The design of the houses and everything was really planned out.
Wow.
There's a TV series an actual series that came out with Reese Witherspoon, talking about that actual community.
Wow.
To show
which one?
The Little Fires.
Yeah.
I have the school up here, but I think the movie that you're talking about is Legally Blonde. When
I believe it was Legally Blonde. right.
Wow.
This is the high school, Shaker High School.
Right.
Is this the proper one, sir?
That is it.
You went to that?
I went there.
Wow, look at that school, man. Can you open that? Let me see that.
You know what? I went to a 30-year class reunion.
Wow.
Like, right before like the pandemic. Like
that looks like a university.
I know. It was. I was completely oblivious until once I started traveling around. I was like, oh my God, I'm really, really lucky.
We're very fortunate. Wow, look at that. Well, what was that like going back to the 30-year reunion?
It was awesome. I mean, it was so much better than I imagined in my head, because I thought like none of these people are going to relate to or understand my life.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I'm in a metal band from Brazil.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just like, are they even, I mean, a lot of them were just like, that is so amazing. We follow you online.
Yeah, obviously.
This is so cool. Like we never, you're doing this. This is incredible. And
yeah, I get that.
So a lot of people are very, very, very supportive and very
proud
happy
of you
for me.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure there are many stories like I went to school with this guy. I went to the school. So many people saying that because it is amazing. It's amazing what you've been able to create for yourself, right? I mean, there is such a small skew of individuals on the face of this planet that will ever be able to say. Well, yeah, only a few people ever say they're in a band called Sepultura, right? But only a few people, or small amount of people that will ever be able to really make music a career, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, at the time of even starting to do music, the idea wasn't really I didn't imagine that you can make any money from it because I was really dove into hardcore and punk rock at the age of 14. Once I joined a band with friends. I was like, there's no money in this, but I love doing this. You're 14. You're not thinking about like my career music.
Yes.
Where did we begin?
Yes.
And so it was really just the enjoyment. I just couldn't imagine. I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to skate and to play music and hang out with my friends. And it just felt really good being in that scene because I felt very I don't know, kind of an outcast, and so with that hardcore scene, I really fit in because people are very diverse, different walks of life, and you could be yourself, and not be made fun of or just feel very comfortable. It felt very comfortable to be in that scene.
Absolutely. That, I was speaking with Mikey Taylor, a professional skateboarder and entrepreneur, right? And that's exactly what he was saying, right? It was like, it's the community, right? It's, it's like, I mean, and he grew up with, Rob Deerdeck and P-Rod and, some of the greats and himself and Kareem Campbell and Chad Muska. Like that was his crew, right?
That was his Roll Dogs.
But it's like that sense of community is like very, similar to like the punk rock scene, right? Because they go hand in hand, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The sense of community and camaraderie, right?
Yes.
So you're 14 years old, going through this. What was your first band? What was that?
Yeah, my first band was called Outface.
All right.
And we were able to rehearse in my parents' basement and also my guitarist's basement as well, his parents'
What did
house.
they think?
They were cool with it because we were hanging out there and they could see us and we weren't doing drugs and getting into trouble. And, my neighbors were also very talented as well. It's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I took it for granted, I guess, but nowadays, people be calling the police or something.
100%, man.
But it was something that we really believed in, that we wanted to be good at, and it was a lot of fun. We were really getting into kind of like the emotional hardcore punk. It started where it started changing melodies and harmonies. And we were kind of in that route of hardcore and punk.
Because it was such a new way to look at it, right? I mean, as far as...
It was going through a lot of changes, and it was super quick.
Yeah.
That whole scene or time period happened very quickly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it took a lot longer, but it's like, rap music and hip hop today, and if you just look at this evolution, right? But it's taken quite some time, not compared to like hardcore, which, like you said, evolved quickly. Is there something behind me? What? Tap. Yeah. I can't, dude. It died on me. Oh no, it did. It didn't. I lied. Can you find me a square plug or something? Square. Oh, I got it right here. No, I'm lying. I got one. Okay, whatever. I'm tripping balls.
Oh, that's so awesome. I just noticed that.
Yes. Exactly. But yeah, so this evolution, and what I love that you said is that really, it's up here. Outface was an American punk rock band formed in Cleveland, Ohio. United States area in the mid 1980s. Chris Hall, Charlie Garriga.
He's in numerous bands I'll mention after.
Here we go. Eventually, by future Sepultura singer.
Oh wow,
Derrick Green.
Hey,
you are officially Wikipedia.
Yes.
Excellent. They messed me up. They fucked me up on Wikipedia. They gave me some weird name. They told me like a weird middle name, and then they said I was like studying to be a doctor, and then I decided to be into hardcore, and I kept getting all these interviews where people are like, so once you decided to leave the medical field and move into that, I was like, what are you talking about?
No way.
And they kept calling me like some weird name, and it was
God,
they might have changed it.
Yeah, well, anyone can change it, right?
But yeah, I know, which I felt was not a good thing. But
yeah, well, I think that's the way it kind of makes it transparent, I guess.
Anyone can add to your Wikipedia. All right,
What? Not anymore?
Not good.
Oh, it's fixed, ladies and gentlemen. You heard that here. So 14 years old in the band Outface. What were you doing in the band?
I was the singer. Oh, believe it or not.
No way. You were the singer. Wow.
Yes, I was the front person. And one of the first shows, I had no idea what to do. But I did know the songs because I was a roadie for this band before I joined Outface.
Wait, at 13?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I was a 13-year-old roadie, like, okay, let's playing on the weekends.
Hell yeah.
Like people's pool parties and
crazy,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I knew the songs once that my really best friend left as the singer. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too serious. I was like, all right. I was like, I can do this. And I was a singer, The first shows I would come out on stage and be singing to the drummer pretty much. And they're like, that show is great, but just next time turn around, man. It's going to be awesome.
Way. You're just scared? Or?
Yeah, I was like terrified. I had really supportive friends though, and that helps, when you have people that have your back that are there,
100%.
And so I built up my confidence and we started opening for a lot of the bands coming to Cleveland. And so we would make, our demo and go to the shows, hang out at every show that we could go to, meet the promoters, hang out with them, give them the demo and be like, hey, you need an opening band, local, we can bring people as well to the show.
Wow.
And that's how we developed that connection with getting people to see the band, was actually being out in the scene, people knowing us like, oh, these guys always hang out at the show. They have a band. They're, able to open up for the show and they could bring people as well.
Yes,
so that's how we did it then,
Yeah, I mean, networking, especially back then, it's...
but face-to-face networking.
Yeah.
Like, people see your face like, oh, yeah, he's always hanging out.
Of course.
It made such a difference.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah. I think that, everything has changed, obviously, with social media. And we were talking earlier, like for me, like, being able to reach out to people that I'd never be able to reach out to, right? But then again, there was something about that face-to-face experience. It changed.
And there was no other option.
Yeah.
You had to put yourself out there. And it's crazy how, it wasn't that long ago.
No, man.
And it just, things changed so radically.
Literally. The iPhone just came out, 12, 13 years ago, right? Right. So it's like, and then
just like phone in general, I'm like, wow, everybody's got their own personal phone. Like,
literally, we're all walking cyborgs.
Now. To put it in a weird way, like so Outface is going on, we're playing.
Yeah.
We can talk about how technology changed radically throughout that.
Yes, yeah.
But Outface, we're doing shows, we're like within the area, like Buffalo and Erie, Pennsylvania. Like we did a lot of shows there, Toronto, kind of in the region that we were. And we met a lot of bands traveling through Cleveland because that was like a passing point, for many bands. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there, of course. So many bands have come and played through Cleveland. And so we met a lot of people from New York and bands, hardcore bands that we became friends with. That made, was the initiative to move to New York.
Wow. How old were you?
I was, at that time, I had already graduated, so 20, it's probably 23 or 24 when I moved to New York.
Before that, right? Your parents were supportive? Did you go to college?
No. So after high school, I was like, I'm not going to university, which was really
strange
because coming from the high school that I went to, my brother and sister, they didn't even go to my public school. Wow. They ended up going, my sister, when she was going to this horribly bad public school, ended up going to a private school.
Wow.
And then my brother ended up going to private school as well.
Wow.
And then I went to private school, and for the orientation, I was like, I'm not going here. I was just like, I don't want to go here. I don't have any friends here, and it's a completely different scene, and I just didn't like the vibe or the energy. And my mom she was like, well, you can go to this public school here, which is fine because it's one of the best in the country. But my brother and sister, they went to like a pretty...
Bless your parents, man.
Yeah, they were working their ass off.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously, like that's, I find that so amazing.
It was, I do too, because I realized they didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Really. They didn't want anything. I never saw them like, it was always first our education, and those schools are expensive. Super expensive.
Yeah.
Alan Alda from MASH and from those shows. His daughter went to the school that my sister was at, private school. It was like an all-girls school.
Yeah, but he's on MASH. Like
he's on MASH. So he was like hanging out in the area there, and I was just like, oh,
your parents are a teacher and electrician, right? It's like we know that teachers don't make all the money in the world, and yeah, exactly. It's such bullshit, right? When we can talk bullshit. About that. Yeah. I mean,
so it was crazy. I mean, my brother, he ended up going to a private school now. I think it's totally mixed, like co-ed, but ended up going to Penn State. My sister went to Wesleyan University. Then, she ended up now she's
got stuck.
Oh no, yeah, I got stuck.
No. If you need more,
no, I'm good now.
Okay. Yeah,
but they both went on to university. But I was like, you know what? I really want to travel. Now I have the opportunity to really push this music idea to see if it's feasible.
Yeah.
If not, then I was like, I'm going to go to art school.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
I was like, I love art. I love graphic design and everything. And so I was really into that, but ended up just playing as many shows as possible and traveling. And then I was like, okay, I want to go to New York,
Were your parents cool with this though? Like,
yeah.
No fucking way.
They were completely cool. I mean, I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I was really, very adamant about what I was doing, very focused.
Had you ever tried?
No, not in high school.
Okay,
not at all. I was just like in high school. I was just like, nah.
That's smart,
right? I mean, I had there were a lot of people around me from my school that were very rich, and they were just getting wasted. Their parents were like divorced or just come home drunk. I was like, oh, your dad's really smashed.
Yeah,
and it's just like, yep, that's normal.
Yep.
Let's go over here. And I'm like, wow,
it's crazy,
and it
right?
was just something that I never experienced. I had. I was very lucky and fortunate. My parents were very stable and they weren't hypocritical. They really believed in the religion as far as Christianity, and I had to go to church. But at a certain point, they're like, you don't have to go anymore.
They're realistic, man.
Yeah, they're very realistic, but they live by the principles. They weren't like preaching to us, but it was just like, they weren't cheating on each other. They weren't doing this and that. It was really living by what they believed. So I had a respect for that and for them, even though I didn't really believe in everything that they did, but I believed in, the ideas that they had, the good ideas behind that.
You had solid parents, and I think that's like so important.
Oh my God, yeah.
So many people come from broken homes, like I talk about this all the time. Like my father passed away when I was 17, right? Wow. Like the shit I personally went through was horrific, and I know people, some better stories, some worse stories, right? But it was very hard for me. It was hard for me to be in the position that I am today, right? And my life would be extremely different, right? If both parents were alive, in a healthy relationship, not an alcoholic father, just like crazy shit. Because after doing all these podcasts and talking with a whole bunch of people, it's like the individuals that have these solid parents, right? That have this relation, their lives to get where they are out today is going to be a lot easier.
True.
And a better mentality. Not easier in the sense of like they have like some special card that's going to get them to the front line quicker. No, but they're going to be able to look at things in a better situation.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100% with that. I mean, of course, everything wasn't perfect. There were certain things that were going on that were very hard to deal with. I had like a grandparent, my grandmother, who was living with us, that came to live with us, and she had Alzheimer's. So I at a young age, I didn't really know what that was. My parents really didn't communicate to me what was going on, what that was. So I kind of missed out on, really getting to know her as herself.
Yeah.
My sister knew her as, completely, there, intact.
Yeah.
And she was just like, wow, she was such, very powerful woman. And I was just completely got the other half of her being with this illness, being sick, like I would wake up and just smell gas, like what's going on?
Oh my
just
God.
Run down. It's like she turned the stove on and just walked off.
Yeah.
She tried to kill us. It's like, Grandma's doing it again. Like, I don't know what grandma you know, but this grandma is like trying to kill us all.
She's
it was like terrifying for me as a kid. I was like, wake up like every day, like what's going on? Like,
it's scary.
It was scary, especially because my parents didn't really explain to me, you know, about mental illness, about what was going on with her. And I had to find out, you know, through my sister kind of explaining, you know, what was going on and everything. But besides that, I can't really complain about my childhood, you know, compared to so many that I've heard.
Yeah.
And I think that was very fortunate, but I really was focused on wanting to do music. You know, it was something that I didn't turn away from. You know, I was like really wanted to pursue it 100%.
That's awesome.
So I just kept playing these shows, and then till we got to a point where everyone kind of knew the band in Cleveland and everything, and it's like, let's take this to another level. We should go to New York. So myself and Charlie Garriga.
Okay.
Charlie plays in this band called Judge from New York now. He also played in a band called Civ. And so our bass player from Outface, he ended up playing in a band called Filter. And that's with Rich Patrick, who was in Nine Inch Nails.
Yep.
And so who are from Cleveland as well.
Wow.
Like very small world. And so Charlie and I moved to New York, and
This was before Filter.
this was this is before Filter. And then when we split, then that's when he joined Filter.
Wow.
And stuff like that happened. So we moved to New York to pursue music and connect with other musicians there, New York musicians that we knew.
Yeah. Before we talk about that real quick, I want to talk about Alzheimer's, because I think it's really important. If you're listening, you know, it's something that's really scary, man. The thought of going your entire life, right? And then one day to have it all slip away and still be alive, right? Not only is it extremely difficult on the individual, right, but it's way more difficult on the family going through it, my friend. Like, and you know that firsthand. There's this movie called Ice Cream in the Cupboard. Andrea Londo stars in it, and it speaks about it, or it's about a wife in her early 50s getting Alzheimer's and fucking losing it. And that's early, because traditionally it's like 70, 80-year-olds that get it. When you were going through all of that, how did your parents handle it? Like when you eventually realized what was happening?
Well, I think that definitely set off something with my mother. It was my mother's mother.
Oh, yeah.
And so my mother ended up going into a depression because of that. And that was something that wasn't explained to me as well.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult, I believe, for her to deal with, you know, just because coming from the time period that my parents and grandparents were alive and coming from, they just didn't talk about that. They weren't very knowledgeable about these type of illnesses, especially depression.
Yeah.
It still wasn't being talked about, or at least I didn't know too much about it at all. And even I think in the Black community, it's something that wasn't really talked about at all.
Yes.
You know, it's just like depression, that's something that white people get.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
You know,
no, like
why would I
honestly,
tell you? It's like, yeah, shit's bad, you know, like deal with it, you know, kind of.
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. What were you saying?
Well, I mean, when you go back to when you were talking about earlier with like your friends and
Right.
the situations that they were in, yeah, my dad comes home plastered.
Right.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, mom's over there with a bottle of Xanax and a bottle of wine. It was normal because that's what they did. They just accepted it.
Right.
But in, like you said, in the Black community, Asian community also
All
too,
right.
like with my wife, it's no. You have it. You take care of your stuff.
Yeah.
You don't look into something else to like lean on as in like a crutch or
Right,
anything
right.
like that. You guys push through your stuff and you figured it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the right way to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And obviously we know that, and you're not the first individual
Right.
to
I
tell
mean,
me.
there's definitely a better understanding, and, and there's different ways to approach it. You know, especially talking about it is the one thing, and
It's
and that's what really was the crusher in my family. The thing that not being able to communicate what's going on,
Yes.
which is super important.
It is,
you know,
it's literally essential. It's
it's essential.
And going through anything. I mean, I go to therapy once a week, you know, and unfortunately there's a lot of shitty therapists out there, but there are good therapists out there.
No doubt.
To be able to literally, I mean, I remember the first 4 months of going to therapy, 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I was in a constant state of depression, right? Because what's happening is you're bringing everything to the forefront, right? Literally all the shit that has gone on in your life, you're bringing it to the forefront. And so you're literally vomiting. I remember for 4 months straight, every single week, I'd go in there and I'd cry my eyes out, and I'd cry my eyes out here. And so as I went through it though, right, things just started falling off. It was like I'm removing layers of clothes, right? Or like peeling away the onion, opening it up. And eventually you get to this point, right, where it's like you have worked through some of the heaviest shit in your life. You can finally take the biggest breath of air you've ever taken in your, like, literally, it's like I'm awake and I'm alive.
Right.
But getting to that point, it's hard, man. Yeah. It's hard. And like, you know, life isn't easy. It's ups and downs, but to be able to fight through something, but we need to talk about it, right? And so I do know in like the Black community, the Asian community, it for a long time, these things weren't talked about.
No,
right?
not at all.
It's pushed under the covers, covers. Just like, you know, in the veteran community, PTSD wasn't talked about. It was, you know, like there was glimpses of it, right? But it's not until like the past 5 years where we're really like, yeah, this shit's real.
True.
And it's not just with the vet. Like, you know, my wife got into a terrible car accident when she was younger. She has PTSD in the car if anyone else is driving. Right. And even when she's driving, you know, so it's like we need to face these things and we need to be able to talk through it. And so did that cause, you know, issues long term, like with your family not talking about things?
I think it did. I mean, as far as me, I knew that I really wanted to get away from home as soon as I turned 18. Yeah. I was like, this is a lot to deal with. My grandmother with Alzheimer's and my mother going through depression. It was just too much for me to really handle. I just didn't have any way of communicating that. I didn't know people that were going through the same situation. So it just kind of like shut off, and I was like, okay, I gotta get out. I want to get out.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, you know, as soon as I turned 18 or so, I was like, I want to move out. And then I wanted to move to New York. You know, that was always a big dream. My sister was going to school there, and I'd always visit her, and I had friends that were in bands in New York. Yeah. And I just felt like connection with the city. I always loved that city. And I just always felt very at home there. So ended up just really packing and moving there, you know.
You did it. Do you remember the moment that you got to New York?
Oh yeah.
What did that feel like?
I mean, it was just total freedom, you know, complete freedom. It felt like, I mean, the city at that time was fantastic. It was really going through a change where it was the end of a really amazing era of New York in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good point. It was, I mean, I really got the tail end of like a really amazing period in New York. So when I got there, I didn't have a job or anything. And my sister was like, hey, I know a guy who's a photographer. He's really into like skate. He's really into hardcore like myself. Jeez. And he said that he can probably get your job somewhere, but you can also, my sister's an artist. Okay. And so I ended up working at an art gallery in Soho at the gallery that she was a part of. And so I was doing stuff there, but not really getting paid that much. But I met her friend who was this photographer, and he was using the art space to do photography, like a shoot. And I remember there was this one model there, the guy Tyson Beckett, who's huge now, but he was really young then. And so I remember he was part of this whole campaign that my friend Paul is his name, and he was like, hey, I can get you a job at this place called Fat Farm. Okay. I was like, what's Fat Farm? And then I told my friends who were in New York, they're like, they just started laughing. They're like, no way, you're going to work at fucking Fat Farm? Like, they're like, that's Russell Simmons' joint. And I was like, Russell Simmons? I was like, no way. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, Russell Simmons opened up this place called Fat Farm. Yeah. And it's you know, like, clothing, I don't know, street clothing, streetwear. And I was like, all right, whatever. I never worked in a clothing store in my life. And he was like, yeah, you can be the assistant manager. My friend Paul was like, my friend, she said that you can be the assistant manager and it's a salary job. And
are you fucking kidding me?
I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you know, it's really easy job. Just
wow.
And so he gave me the address and he told me to go there. And I went there and I was the assistant manager at Fat Farm for 2 years or so.
What the heck?
And so that was insane. Like I I mean, I love hip hop, you know.
Yeah.
At the same time, I love punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
I was really getting into hip hop because they were kind of coming up at the same time.
Hell
you know,
yeah.
very rebellious, very independent. You know, they weren't playing anything on the radio. It was like, oh no, we can't play hip hop on the radio. I was like, I love this music.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. That feeling.
And so I really could relate to both, you know, the lyrical content of like hip hop and punk and hardcore at that time.
Yes.
So, you know, being thrown into Fat Farm, it was just like meeting all these people that I never imagined I would meet or even see. And especially Fat Farm, because there's such a mixture of people coming in, because Russell was, you know, meeting with so many different people. But now thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, that was insane. But it would be like, you know, one day it'd be like Mariah Carey come in. He's like, Russell would call on the phone. And I would get so nervous because it was hard to understand him because he has a lisp.
Yeah.
And he would be yelling on the phone like, and I was like, okay, Russell. And I'd be like to the manager, like, what did he say? Like, let me put this on speakerphone because I can't. And he'd be like, you know, bring this stuff, you know, up to my place. I need you to take this to, you know, this cafe, bring some clothes to this girl or to here.
No way.
And I was like, yo, I'm running the store now. I can't just like jump out. And like, but a lot of times it'd be like, yo, Naomi Campbell's at this cafe. I want you to bring like this, and this, you know, for her and the supermodels, you know, because at that time it was like supermodels.
Hell
like
yeah, they were the thing.
The thing, you know, like Naomi Campbell. God, what were the Christy Turlington?
Yeah.
Cindy Crawford.
Yep.
The original OGs.
Yeah,
you know,
like the Victoria's Secret. Yeah.
Tyra Banks. And
Tyra
so
Banks
all
big one.
And so he really wanted to promote, you know, Fat Farm was a lot of all the videos that all the hip hop artists were doing. They would always go to Fat Farm to get clothing, and Russell would give them free shit just because it was amazing promotional stuff. So I could see how this connection was kind of going on with Russell wanting to get into fashion, then wanting to get into film, and seeing how it was kind of growing, because there were certain people that were coming in. There would be like Penny Marshall would come in, you know, like from Laverne and Shirley. And I was like, why is she even here? You know,
oh
like,
my God.
How does she know about Fat Farm? But she's a director. Then he started opening up like this whole idea of like Rush Management doing things for like films, producing films.
Yeah. And
he started getting into wanting to produce stuff. So he became friends, you know, there would be like Brett Ratner would come in. And it was just like, oh, great. And because he was always like, for me, like back then, I was like, this dude is a fucking shady motherfucker. And I was like, and just a horrible vibe, you know? I was just like, he was just so young, and it was crazy, you know? So all these like really, you know, he was directing hip hop videos then. So Fat Farm, Getting Clothes, everything. And then he became massive.
Did you respect it back then? Did you understand the magnitude of what you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely respected it. I mean, Russ, I mean, he was actually a fantastic boss as far as like giving, you know, he had friends that would come and work there that were like in prison. They just got out, and he was like, yo, this is my boy from the hood.
I love that.
You know, and he was like, I'm hooking him up with this job. And I mean, a lot of times I don't think that was the best idea, because it was just like, oh my God, you know, like.
No, and I get that. Right.
But it was. At time, I was just like, I really appreciate that, you know. Like I remember he had this driver just like so smoked out, and I was like, how is he able to even drive you anywhere?
Everything's in slow motion, bro.
Like total slow motion, and yeah. But anyway, it was such an adventure working there. You know, I ended up like after a certain amount of time, I was like, I'm really bored of assistant manager position. Can I work in the office, like at Rush Management office? And they were like, yeah, you can work in we have a position for like stock and sending out like mail order stuff. And I was like, I prefer to do that.
Wow.
You know, than dealing with the chaos of, you know, customers coming in and, you know, dealing with employees, you know, like, did you punch in? No, you know, like, can you be folding this? Like, get out of the doorway, stop talking, you know,
you got to be the,
And I was like, I didn't want to be that guy. And so in the office, it was just like I had my own world, just like super easy, and I could see behind the scenes like what was going on, and it was great. You know, they started getting scripts in for certain movies. I remember that Russell wanted to do the first Black horror movie.
Okay.
Because there weren't any at the time. And so I think it was like Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking, I was like, this looks so corny. But it made sense because it hadn't been done.
Yes.
A lot of Black people love to go to the movies. A majority of people, like he did the percentage. I think he was like, yo, how come there aren't any Black horror movies? You know, I was like, it totally makes sense.
Oh my God. There we go.
Tales from the Hood.
There we go. Yes. I remember this. Let's see. A funeral director tells 4 strange tales of horror with an African-American focus to 3 drug dealers he traps in his place of business.
1995.
And spanks with a paddle.
Right in that middle. That's when I was there. And I think it set off a whole thing of like, there were certain movies like, you know, Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah.
There was.
Yes.
And
Leprechaun
in the Hood.
Yeah.
That had iced tea in it.
Dude, you know my oh fucking Ice-T. Was he on what's that TV show? Law and Order.
Forever.
20 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's like that's his role.
It's fucking crazy because I remember, I don't know if you ever watched that show, but the guy, the white dudes that's with the chick he used to be with, Mariska Hargitay, the main dude.
Whoa.
Pull up Law and Order SVU real quick. Detective Elliot Stabler.
Okay, I was never a big fan of the show.
Okay, well,
I don't
forget
know
the
the
story
characters.
then.
Yeah,
Forget
yeah.
the story.
So, yeah.
No. But my point is that how fast time goes is I remember when he left, and I was just thinking about the other day in the shower, right? And I was like, because he'd been on the show forever, and I was like, just in the shower, something like that, thinking about some random dude in the shower. You know, it's normal. And
oh, that's okay. It's all right, man. We're in 2021.
Right?
Come on, bro.
I can think of a man in the shower. But then I looked it up, and he'd been off the show since like 2012. Wow. And I'm like, this is 2020 fucking one. I was like, I don't know, Dan. Just time flies by quick. I don't know. Just bringing it back.
It's true
to what you said. But okay, we'll bring it back to you.
Okay. I'm working a bat farm, and it's just like, you know, crazy people coming in. Biggie came in. You know, like all the Wu-Tang was blowing up then. Yep. You know, we listened to that Biggie album came out. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Wu-Tang came out. I was like, this is incredible.
Yes.
East Coast killing it.
Fucking nuts.
See, that's what I'm saying. The East Coast, you were around in New York.
Yeah.
And then you're at the end of the 90s. So you're at the end of
parties.
The punk rock era. You're ending in the punk rock era and then coming up while the hip hop era is coming up.
Yeah.
So you're in that genre mixture.
Absolutely. It was.
To ask a question, working at Fat Farm, being in a completely different genre of what one you originally learned from is classical. Right. Singing at a punk metal level, now in a hip hop era. Did that help with your creation of music to like make it your own?
I absolutely. I think it really gave insight on rhythms and beats and flow. You know, especially with hip hop. You know, it's so important. You know, your flow. You know, how is it going to flow? And also with hardcore and metal, it's important to have something that's original. A lot of times, a lot of the stuff becomes very repetitive. Yeah, and so it's great to be able to think outside the box and try something different and not be afraid to do that. And so it allowed that thinking, you know, not coming from that one-sided way of thinking, like it's got to be this way. Because I know a lot of times with music or certain scenes, they try to put you in a box and keep you there. You know, it's for their understanding, you know, whether fans or critics, and a lot of artists sometimes get trapped into believing that, you know, and they stop with the creative flow of just trying things, not be, you know, where it's just like you're not afraid. Like being in Cleveland, I wasn't trying to compete with anybody, so we tried a lot of different things, and I think that helped a lot. You know, there's so many bands that are coming from mid-America or whatever that are just better than those bands that might be from big cities because they're not, you know, overwhelmed and trying to be something that they're not.
Yeah, it's so neat.
And so that unique ability of being yourself is super important. I realized early on. It's just better to do that, you know, and stick with it and believe in it. And if you believe in it, you know, people will get behind you 100%. And believe that as well, you know. And if they don't, then fuck them. You know
yes,
yes,
yes.
If you don't like it, push next.
No, literally, and absolutely what you said is correct. But you know what I want to know? I want to know about those Fat Farm parties.
Oh man,
yeah, that's right.
I mean, the Fat Farm parties. I mean, I wasn't really into partying so much, you know, so it was like not that exciting for me. I mean, but I mean, it came to an end, abrupt end. I mean, I was pretty much burnt out. I was just like, this is not really fulfilling me mentally, you know, just like. I thought it was interesting, the design that was going behind it. The people in that department were mad cool. And but then I started helping with a lot of the accounting. And I realized
seriously?
There was like certain things of like aspect of accounting because they're doing a lot of mail orders.
Okay.
Because that was the only store. So everybody would come there from Japan, around the world to go to that store. Or they would do orders to buy a bunch of stuff to sell in their store. Yeah. So I was going through all that, and I'd also see some of the cards, company cards, and I was like, wow, you can buy like bed sets and all this other stuff, and they were buying all this stuff, not, you know, not on the level. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, you're fired. The people that were above me, but it wasn't the main people, it wasn't Russell or anybody, it was the people that were stealing.
Oh my gosh.
So they were like he's out of here. And I was like, fine, whatever. And they
because you found out.
Yeah. And then they got fired like a month later from.
They should have brought you back, bro.
I know. But I mean, I was already like, you know what? Done. I was like, I need to do something else. And
you were still doing music along the way?
At the same time, I was still doing music, battling with this band with Charlie Garriga, my guitarist from Cleveland, Outface Guitars. Yeah. And we've started a band, and then he ended up playing in a band called Civ. Okay. And then he was like, I'm going, and I was like, I get it. You know, I totally get it. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I got to do this by myself now, you know. And so I bought a guitar, and I was like, I got a 4-track, and I was like, I'm going to start writing my own stuff and start my own band, you know. I got to keep this dream alive.
Go.
You know, like not give up. And, you know, I was really, I had a lot of drive, you know, and I was still going to shows. And I ended up doing bouncing work. You know, I was working the door at places in my neighborhood in the Lower East Side that were very questionable places. I mean, just because they were just neighborhood awesome places, but just a lot of just craziness going on.
Doubt
just like, it was insane. But I worked in a lot of those local bars in the area, but it was great. You know, I got along. There was a lot of musicians working those places as well, so I was still within the scene. Yeah, you know, and I was still, you know, talking to people and seeing what was going on, going to shows. And that's when I met an A&R person that had seen Outface, my other band, years ago, and he was always going to shows, and he came to me and he was like, hey, this band Sepultura, their singer left, they're doing auditions, and they're accepting demo tapes, and you should tapes because there are no CDs
it just went over my head. Yeah. Those are the good days.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I got I'll put a tape together. And I'll send it to them. And he was like, yeah, I think they need somebody completely different from, you know, what they had before. That's the only way they're going to continue.
Did they have a name yet, or
no? I mean, Sepultura. That was like
no. But were they like, had they made a name for themselves? Like
they were at their peak. Okay, I mean, they were touring like Sabbath. They were selling, you know, millions of albums by then. They was just like, they had like, I was like a fan, but I wasn't a fanatical fan, so I didn't realize how big they actually were in the world. I didn't even know, you know, I don't think I knew everyone's name in the band at the time. I was just like, I like this album and this album.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. You know, I'm going to try to, maybe they'll like this. It's nothing like their style of music. My demo that I sent them of bands that I've been in. Yeah. But I think I could do something like this. And so, I sent it to them. They were getting tapes from people from all around the world. You know, it was like a lot of people really wanting to be a part of the band. And, I finally got that. I got a call back from them, and they were just like, hey, we want you to come down in a week to Brazil. I was like, I'd never been to Brazil, didn't know anybody there, never heard Portuguese spoken and know it.
Oh my God.
Really like, all right, a week, you know, like.
Did you have a passport?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I did. I was just thinking like, maybe I didn't. But I was like, I knew nothing about Brazil and I knew nothing about South America. So I went to the library, got a book because
there was libraries.
There was library. I didn't have a computer. And at that time, and I don't even think computers were expensive and stuff. So I was just like, I'm never going to have one of those.
When was this?
It was like 1996.
Okay.
95.
Oh, right before
96.
Yeah. Okay. So, you go to the library, right?
Yeah, I get some books out about Brazil and South America. I was like, okay, I'm going there. This is going to be intense. You know, I don't know anybody there.
This is fucking huge.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? This is what I want to be in a band that's professional. That was the whole dream. So I got to do this. You know? I got to be, and I'm going to be myself. You know, I'm not going to, it's like, I only have played in bands with people who I'm friends with. Yeah. So I'd never been outside that circle. So I was like, I definitely want to feel comfortable within the band, and I don't want to be a hired gun.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be a member of the band. I remember that was like I won't do it unless it's like that. But I wasn't even in the band yet. So I was just like, let's go there and have a good time. I was like, I'm going to go on this free ticket to Brazil. I'm going to have a great time, you know. And so I went to Brazil, you know, and I didn't, it was just, I just did it, you know. I was like, I got to do this.
And so what happened? You get there and
I get there, and the bass player Paulo, he picks me up, and he's the only one that's single in the band, and he's like, I will hang out with you first. You'll stay at my place, and then and I was staying at each person's house in the band during the time I was there.
Was like that by 2 design?
Weeks. Yeah, that was by design, so they can get to know me and their family can get to know me.
Yes,
because they're a very intricate band as far as like, you know, family is everything. Wow. And so, you know, with Paulo, he was a single guy, so I was single, and we're just like to the beach, you know, hanging out, and by then I'm drinking.
Okay,
you know, I already, and so it's just like, all right, this is incredible. You know, we're going to these bars where it's like you can shoot like a compound crossbow. I was like, in the bar,
fucking hell!
It was just like intense, you know, bands playing there, and I was like, you know, just crazy stuff like that. It was like almost like a lawlessness kind of going on. I was like, this is insane.
Was there any music that was just hanging out?
Hanging out, music, you know, there'd be a band playing, and then they have an area for compound bows, and then, you know, drinking, and they never had an accident. All just crazy stuff like that. And I was just like, this is a whole nother world, you know, and people are super, super friendly there. They love foreigners, as far as like they love people from other countries.
Yeah.
And they love to show off Brazil. You know, they're very proud of the country. And so I started to really fall in love with the place. You know, I was going to football games, or just massive games with people playing drums.
Yes.
And everyone hyped up in that energy. You get captured up. You know, you get really captured in that energy. Yeah. Just like, oh my God, this is so intense. And the food is amazing. And the weather, you know, was winter when I went there. It was like December, and it was just hot, you know, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then we started practicing.
But I love that. And how long was it? Like, were you there for?
It was like a week.
A week.
And then we went to the studio.
Makes sense. So like they obviously really liked your stuff.
Well, I mean, they didn't know. They were just like really wanted to get to know me and have everyone kind of spend some time. And then, okay, let's go to the studio. And then go to the studio, and they have like their friends, a lot of friends there. And I was like, this is weird. You know, we're doing an audition. And then they're like, okay, so we're going to play a song, and then you sing something and just make up whatever. So they play like a new, like, first time seeing them live, you know, playing. And I'm just like, holy shit, just powerful, you know. It's just like goosebumps hearing it, like, oh my God, you know, because they've been playing together for years.
So it's fucking tight.
Yeah, and tight, and it's like new stuff I've never heard. And I'm like, they're like, okay, now you sing. Make up something. I'm like, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, this is so bad, and really nervous. And then I went again it was like the weekend or something, and then I went to the beach with Paulo again. He was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "You need to step up. Like, this is your chance. Like, think about it." Like, so we came back, and I was like, "Oh, you guys, Bad Brains?" They're like, "Yeah, we know Bad Brains." They're like, we just started playing a song, and we ended up doing a Bad Brains song, and that made me feel comfortable because that's one of my favorite bands ever. And we ended up doing a Bad Brain song. And then after that, things just started to flow. I started to open up a lot more. And then I became very comfortable making up ideas. And then after that week, I was like, oh my God, I got to come back here. I got to come to Brazil. I really hope I got this. And I flew back to New York. And about a month later, I heard from them like, hey, you want to come back to Brazil and make an album? And I was like, holy shit, yeah. And then their manager called me, and he was like, hey, one of the first shows is probably going to be about 30,000 people, just to let you know. That's going to be just so you get your head there, And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, we're planning on doing this show to introduce you to the fans and stuff in Brazil. And we're going to invite all these different guests. Jason Newsted, you might have heard of him. He plays in Metallica.
God. Yeah, of course.
Mike Patton. This is the manager talking to me. I was like, yeah, I know. He's like Mike Patton. He's going to come and do some songs. And we're going to have the Shavanti Indians from the Amazon rainforest come and do some song.
Oh,
like
my God.
Like a whole all-star cast of people for my first show in Brazil for the introduction of the new singer, a new phase in the band, and it was intense, So I had to really, it was really.
Oh my fucking God!
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
How many times did you throw up?
I almost threw up. I mean, it was just almost like shitting my pants, but it was insane just because I didn't realize how big they were. Like, for me, you got to understand I didn't have a computer. The internet wasn't really highly developed like it is today, where you could just go online and see how big a band is. It was like being in Brazil, walking around with them is when I realized, like, holy shit, like everybody in this country knows this band.
These are rock stars.
Yeah. Totally. Like people like autographs and and honking horns and stuff. I'm like, holy shit. I mean, and then it really hit me once we started to tour, like doing the promo tour of all the interviews where the record label was like, okay, we're going to split the world up. You two are going to go to this part of the world and do interviews for a month in all these different places. And the other two are going to go over here and do interviews for a month in these places. And we'll meet back here after all the promo interviews, and then you'll do a tour. And then I was just like, holy shit. So, my drummer and I, Japan, Australia, Spain or somewhere, and the other guys like Sweden, Italy, and it was insane. And then labels had a lot of money, obviously.
It was a different time.
It was before the
internet.
Yeah, it was before the internet.
Napster.
Before Napster, before all that. So they had a lot of money, and they made a lot of money off of CDs. That whole scam, where it was like, so much cheaper to make CDs. And they were charging like $20 for CDs. And everyone's like, I'm changing my entire record collection over to CDs.
It's fucking crazy. And then that went out the window, a decade later, 20 years later. That's so crazy. But, your life changed.
Oh, no, radically.
Fucking radically. Mm-hmm. And to think about it, though, it is the hard work that you put in, right? That led up to it.
Exactly.
It's like a lot of times, all the time, like we can't see where the end of that road is going. Like we're talking about, like
it's a very, very, very true. All that, like driving in vans, sleeping on people's floors, all that. It made sense. Yeah. Once I was getting to that level, I was like, this is this weird preparation to where I'm at. And it just made sense. I was like, wow. And it helped in every aspect of being able to get on stage, to learn quickly, to be able to deal with, compromise, being able to live with other people.
Yeah.
That's hard for certain musicians or certain people that have strong personalities, especially when it comes to like writing. There's certain things I've seen with artists where they have a hard time. I like to collaborate.
Yeah,
I don't need to have like all, I like to work with other people. So
I love that. It's definitely in your favor, and it's an ongoing story of why bands break up. They spend so much time together. Right? Why so many relationships, right? Why divorce is so high. Like, it's being able to compromise, to deflate the ego, right? We always want to be right. We always want to get the last word. We always, I. When in actuality, it has to be us. You have to meet in the middle, right? And for you though, if someone just heard, oh, you met, you tried out, and then you became the lead singer of Sepultura, right? Be like, oh, that happened overnight, but it didn't. It didn't happen overnight.
It was definitely a process of really wanting and really wanting that. Putting myself in that position of being around that musical scene. Even working in those bars and stuff. But I knew that the people working or the managers and people there were really connected in the musical scene. So that helped tremendously. Staying connected and staying kind of relevant and knowing what's going on. Yeah. And even in order for that A&R person to recognize, like, oh yeah, I see you all the time at shows, still going out, and you still have this band that you're doing. So it all really connected. When I look back, it just made a lot of sense, and I think it made sense for them as well.
Of course.
They wanted to have a different future. They wanted a different person. Like, there were people that were sending in demos that sounded just like the old singer. Yeah. And they're like, we don't want that. We want somebody that's uniquely different. So me being myself, sending me in this melodical hardcore, they're like, that's what we want.
Yes.
Somebody that's like, can be formed into this band and evolve with the band, So Evolution. They really, I thank them, for having such an open mind. Yeah. Because the metal scene, I realized, was so open-minded for a lot of things, especially when you have a change in singers. Oh my God. I don't think that's only the metal scene, but in general in music, when you change like such a tremendous, front person, all respect to the past singer, it's difficult. It's very difficult to move beyond that, and it's hard for fans to get past that. I know.
God, it's so right. RJ from Strung Out, literally, because he is the new guy on the block. He just joined the band, 3 years ago, and he was talking about all the fucking hate that he got. Like, it's his fault. Right. It's his fault that he took the role of a fucking lifetime to work with fucking Strung Out and be a part of that, right? No, it's not his fault. Any drummer in the right mind, if that's the career and the path that they want to do, right, would take that opportunity if it makes sense.
And he's the drummer. Imagine being the front person.
Exactly.
I mean, that it becomes even, a lot of the attention gets drawn there.
And so if there was social media back then, you would be destroyed. You would be put out on a spigot, and it's like shame.
Right.
Well, no, it's not. It's not that at all. But it's so crazy because I talk about this all the time. It's like, in your life, you will meet 3 people that can help take you to the next level. Most people won't even see one, right? Wow. So imagine if that A&R person, right, if you would have just kind of put it by like, oh yeah, whatever, right? But you did. You saw it through. You felt through it. What I want to talk about next is that moment, if you can remember that moment when you walked out onto that stage of 30,000 people, the very first show, right? You're not the kid that's going to sing to the drummer anymore. You're the kid that is the face of Sepultura, right? Arguably one of the biggest fucking heavy metal bands of all time, right? What was that like?
I mean, it's really undescribable in a way. It's just that I really carry that moment with me a lot of times. Every time we play a show, it's such an unbelievable feeling of having that response from so many people. It's an energy that's it's intense. It's better than anything. You crave it after it. It's just like, oh my God, like I want that all the time. And but it was such a love, from the Brazilian people. They really sparked something in me where I was like, with this support, we can do anything. Yeah. I felt that it was really a part of something very special, to be a part of that history. And I feel that every time we step on stage, that strength from Brazil, that belief in the band, that pride that they have. I realize that this is a big responsibility to step into this, and I don't want to fuck it up. So I want to be respectful of the past. I want to be respectful of Brazilians and the history and with this band, So that's something that I feel, and I remember feeling for the first time stepping on that stage. I was like, wow, I really feel a part of this history, and it's really something very beautiful, and I have a lot of respect for that.
That is so amazing, man. That is one of the most incredible stories. Like, I mean, just literally that's fucking bonkers.
It's bonkers. I mean, that was just the start.
That's exactly it, right?
I mean, so when you talk about like the haters and stuff, the development of the internet is coming along. So of course there's these people that are like voicing their opinions, but there were people who are extremely, cross-armed, at shows, and just, and I knew that was going to happen. I was like, of course.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to take time for people to get, to figure out like, hey, there's a new singer. This is a new phase of the band. They're moving onward. And I was okay with that. So I knew it would take some time for us to really get into our own groove where we felt super comfortable. And that was a process. It took many, many years.
Of course.
Many albums. And I just wanted to see the evolution of the band. I wanted to be able to look back and say, like, from this album, it got better. From this album, it got better. I wanted to see, this evolution of the band. And I feel that it has gone in that direction. That was the one thing that I wanted to keep on that path, to really see the band going upward, getting better, where people are like, oh, okay, this is better, and gain that respect.
Yes.
And so that process is great. Because I've noticed that, from the latest album that we had that came out, like during the whole COVID thing, unfortunately, it was, the one that everyone's like, this last album, the best album. They're like the best.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, yes. I'm like, but it took some time for people to even like say that. Old fans are just like, oh no. It's just, they're like, okay, now they're realizing this is something different. They've been doing it for 20 years with me in the band.
Yeah,
I'm not the new guy anymore.
No, not anymore.
And so there's a whole fan base of people who are entirely different as well, a whole generation of people that are able to see just me in the band. They've never saw the old formation. They have no idea about that live. They have no idea. It's a completely different time period.
You are like Sepultura, like you're not you individually, but like people, you've been with them longer than the other singer was. Right. And so it's like you are as much of a member.
I mean, there's no denying. I mean, in our minds, in a lot of people's minds, it's always been. But it's funny when you see these people; they're just so lost. I can tell that they've never listened to any albums. Yeah. They've never seen a show live, and because they have no clue of what they're talking about.
I hate that.
And it's super obvious. I'm like, okay, all right.
I remember being a kid, I don't know, 99, 2000, something like that, and having, different stickers like NoFX, Less Than Jake, Rise Against, Strung Out, Rancid, and then I had like Metallica, Sepultura, AC/DC, just like my fucking school binder just covered, right? And I would never, like, if you told Brock, in fucking 20 years or whatever, you're going to be sitting down speaking with Derrick Green on your podcast and be like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, right. Same thing for you, though. It's like, when you were 14 years old, you're going to, be performing with one of the, right?
That aspect had yet to come. When I joined, I was like, okay, I didn't even take that in. I was just like kind of focused on, I want to write good songs. This is the album. I got to perform these songs. Then I was like, oh, by the way, you guys are going to do a tour of Metallica, South America. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, oh my God, that's happening? Like, really? Upgrade. It was just like, yeah, like, okay. And it's just like things like that. Oh, you guys are going to do a tour with Slayer. And there's this band Slipknot in the States that came out, and they're going to be headlining the tour. And it's going to be some other bands, and it's a whole touring thing. And then getting the opportunities like, oh, you guys are going to tour with this with Pantera and do something, and which didn't happen because 9/11 went down and nobody was flying. And it was just like all these different things started popping up that I never ever imagined,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And isn't that around the time too, though, when Pantera separated and turned into Damage Plan?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was right.
And the drummer.
That was the
they left.
Yes.
And then he was shot in Reno.
Yeah, he was shot in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, Columbus, Ohio. That's where it was. A raged Pantera fan came up onto the stage.
Oh,
Pantera
yes.
forever.
Dimebag Darrell? Was that his name?
Yeah, it's our friend. Yeah.
Dimebag Darrell, one of the most greatest guitarists. One of the reasons why I actually wanted to pick up a guitar.
He was phenomenal. And he was a big-hearted person. Both of him and his brother Vinny, who died as well. They're the biggest hearts, those brothers were incredible. And like you said, he was such a shredder.
Yeah.
I had so much respect. I've never, have seen anyone play like him. It was phenomenal, but he was such an amazing person, just like both of them so giving at every show that we played. If we came to town and they were around, just there, like, here we are, it's that Southern hospitality. And I was just like, yes. Like,
that's awesome,
it's so cool. But
were you in any of their movies?
No.
Okay.
But the other guys were, they did a whole tour. Like, before I joined the band, there was a Sepultura tour, and it was Sepultura, Helmet, Ministry, and Pantera.
Wow.
It was just insane. And Ministry was the headliner.
That's crazy, man.
They were massive then. Then it was just like meeting, all these idols and bands that I admire and doing these tours. But not only, they're mostly around the world.
Yeah.
So bizarre places and things I'd never imagined, like River Plata Stadium in Argentina. It's one of the biggest like soccer stadiums with Metallica. Or just like playing with Iron Maiden in Chile, or like just mind blowing things, just insane. It hadn't even gotten to like the biggest show, which was like Rock in Rio.
Oh my
gosh! And we've ended up doing like 7 or 8 of those that we played so far. But the first one, that's over 100,000 people. It's insanity. It was really so much that went on, like, in the evolution of the band, like that they had never gone through.
Yeah.
Like, they had never toured Metallica. They had never done a tour. So, all these first, and a lot of those old fans missed because they were just so bitter or whatever, but it didn't really matter what anybody was saying. They could be haters and it was like, I'm on tour with Metallica right now.
Literally.
So. Yeah.
It's just so cool. But you ended up moving to so what was that experience like? You tell me your family though, like what did your parents, like what did they think about everything that was happening?
It was happening so quickly, but they were just super proud. I remember them coming to the show in Cleveland, and just kind of being in the front row, not knowing, like, hanging out there. And then there were some fans who were just like, probably want to step back a little bit because things are going to get a little crazy here.
Oh my gosh.
But I just remember my mother just being, after like writing a letter, like just telling me how proud she was and how she really understood now, hearing the music and seeing the connection with the crowd and everything, how amazing it was. And it was just all these different things kept coming up, and that gave us the inspiration, like, we should keep going. We got to keep going. We got to keep doing. We love doing this. It's like always these new experiences. And then one thing that's really, really unique about Sepultura is our ability to play in so many different places that a lot of bands don't have that opportunity. A lot of people relate to Sepultura because it's coming from Brazil. They're like a third world country. They kind of, other smaller countries can relate to that. Other places that are maybe in destitute or in poverty, they have a connection with the band. They're like, oh, they're from South America. They're struggling. They're coming from this. And so we're able to play a lot of places like Mongolia or Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan and just like really bizarre places you would never imagine the metal scene. India, you know, and it's there. You know, those metal kids that are there look like the metal kids you grew up with.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
right?
Identical. There's
Bloodywood. Bloodywood is a phenomenal. I heard.
What is it?
Bloodywood. Bloodywood is the name of the band. They're Indian metal.
Oh shit! Okay.
Their vocals, and then they integrate their like cultural music with it too.
Oh, I love that.
It is amazing.
And that is something that a lot of those bands love about Sepultura, is that because Sepultura is definitely one of the first bands to really integrate sounds of culture with metal and not be afraid to do that, you know, especially with the Roots album.
Yes.
And that was, it came from being away, you know. This is quoting from Andreas and the guys in the band, you know, and hearing them talk about this in so many interviews. It's just being away from Brazil for so long. You know, they were young kids and they didn't like anything about the culture. Like when you're young, you're like, I don't like that.
Yes,
like samba and all that. That's bullshit, you know. And they were, after doing all these tours outside of Brazil and missing the culture, missing, you know, where they came from, and becoming comfortable of where they come from and who they are. I believe you can hear that on certain albums slowly, their evolution before I got in the band, which I found very interesting and very natural.
Yeah.
So they're growing, and then by the time they get to Roots, they're like, hey, let's have these elements of our past, of who we really are. That was the biggest album selling wise, because I think people could really relate in a way where they're just like, wow, this is their personality. This is the band. They're not taking, you know, all these different things from that they like. You know, they develop more of their own personality. You know, they come into their own. You know, and it's from playing all these different shows and playing all these different bands. Now they have their own unique identity, and you can definitely hear that on Roots, and even before that, I think it even started on Arise. You know, was really when it started to take form, and they also start to learn to write in English as far as the lyrically, because they always had somebody translate, which a lot of people don't know.
Oh,
like they would write in Portuguese, and they had a friend translate it into English.
No way. And so when you came on the scene, because that's actually bonkers, right? Because the language barrier between, you know, English and Portuguese, right? It's different.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just the way that you pronunciate the cadence.
Meanings, simple words too could be misconstrued into a different thing.
But that was the beauty of it. I think there's a lot of poetic things that came out of that in the actual lyrical content of the music from the older songs. You know, it's just like the phrasing and everything, you know, just because of that difference.
Damn. I had no idea about that, and that's really cool.
Right.
When you came on the scene though, you move out there. What goes through your head? Like,
well, I mean, I was single, and young.
How old?
I was like in the late 20s, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh shit.
There's so many beautiful women
yes.
here. Just like, this is an incredible place. And oh man, it was insane, but I really
don't doubt it.
It was a little bit crazy for the fact that it was frustrating. It started to become frustrating because I couldn't speak Portuguese. So you have people who are trying to speak English to you, and there are a lot of people that just want to learn to speak English, so they're not speaking Portuguese to you. There were a lot of people that were posing to be friends. And so I felt like I was almost like in high school again, but I was an adult, you know? So if I did speak Portuguese when I was learning it, then people were like, oh, it's so cute. You sound like you're a 7-year-old. You know? It's like, yo, I'm an adult man. It's like, I'm a grown man. I'm going through some shit. You know? I was like, come on, man. Like, give me a break. And it became annoying. I was like frustrated myself because I wasn't learning the language, and I couldn't communicate how I am. You know, I couldn't push my personality. It was becoming very difficult and frustrating because I wasn't meeting the people that I wanted to meet as far as like, I don't know. You want to meet people that you can relate to, and so
absolutely,
it was difficult. I just started to isolate myself in a way. But then I started to learn the language. I started to make friends with people who only spoke Portuguese, which helped a lot.
Wow, that's smart.
And so after I started to understand the language better and have a better understanding, then things got better. Then I could make a decision of like, that person is full of shit, that person is for real, you know, and have those people close to me, because it was pretty famous there. Like I wasn't used to being recognized, you know, having people honk their horns or get autographs every day. It wasn't, you know, it would walk outside my house, there was always somebody, you know, and it's still that same, it's just still the same way.
Yeah.
But I had to get used to that. So when I moved there, I wasn't used to that. And I was really like, oh my God, this is a little bit overwhelming having everyone look at you, everything you're doing, you know, in a restaurant you're eating and you're going out with friends and people are just like, why is everyone staring at us?
Yeah.
And so then I was trying to like date, you know, and it was even worse because they were just like, you become intimidating, you know, the women are just like, I'm not used to having everybody stare at us. I'm like, neither am I, you know. It's like, I'm like coming from New York where it's like, actually, it's not good to stare at
Don't
people.
look at anybody. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, totally. And when I first moved there, that was another thing. I was like, yo, man, what are you eyeballing me? You eyeballing me? And they're like, yo, they're looking, everybody looks at everyone here like, yeah. They're like, take it down a notch.
Culture shock too.
Completely.
Also.
Like I had to learn, like, okay, not everybody's out, you know.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's so weird because I mean, anyone going through some level of fame, right? It's a lot. I mean, I can only imagine like what someone like Justin Bieber went through at a young age. He has that new song out with Lonely, right?
And it explains it.
Exactly. And so it's like, but it doesn't matter what level you go from one day not being famous, right? People looking at you, watching your every move to now. Everyone is, right? It's a lot to navigate.
You're right. And it took some time, but once I got really people I felt comfortable with around me and I started to learn a lot more about the culture and what's going on there, then I really fell in love with Brazil. You know, it's such a fascinating place and people, I start to meet a lot of extremely fascinating people.
You embrace it. Yeah, I definitely don't doubt that. I mean, it looks like a beautiful, amazing country. Right. When you finally got ready to write your first album with them, how long was that after you'd been part of the band?
Well, when I joined the band, they had written a big portion of the first album that I sang on. So I was excited about the second album. And again, that was when labels had money. So we're like, yeah, let's take 2 months. We're going to be in Rio de Janeiro, the studio right by the beach. And we're each going to just like take our time and just write this album or actually just record the album. We already had everything written. And it was just like, yeah, okay. And
2 months just to record.
2 months. And it was ridiculous when I think back. And I'm like, oh my God. But it was a process, you know. We were like, okay, now I'm here at the very beginning phase of the writing process. You know, I have my guitar. I was going to write some parts. I was playing guitar when I first joined the band and certain songs, but I wasn't really a guitar player. But I was like, I can just do these parts or whatever. But we were just like putting that out there, you know, on the second album, just like, yeah, let's try this. And, you know, we'll have Dilla Biafra come and do this part, you know, which was fucking amazing. I was like, he'll really do that, and we'll have this band Apocalyptica. They'll do like the theme of it, and it'll be like a, you know, like a theme for like Conan, like Our Nation. We'll have Shepard Fairey do the artwork. So he did the album cover for Nation, and then it wasn't. He had only done not so much work. He wasn't as well known, but at the same time, we're like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. So we did the artwork. We got Jella. We got this theme, you know, all positivity, you know, everyone's together, our Sepul Nation, you know, and then we had a label that was like, we don't like this guy. There were half of the people at the label were like, we don't like the guy that you chose. We don't like this new singer.
Oh, wow.
And they were very adamant about it. You know, the A&R person that signed Sepultura was just like, I'm not feeling him. You know, and I knew that, and I was like, "Fuck them!" Then everybody in the band was like, "Fuck this label! This is our last album with them, so we can leave after this." And they're not supporting us. They're trying to push the old Sepultura. You know, they're not pushing the change and transformation. It was really impossible to be with them, and we needed to make that break. Because it was a very bad deal anyway with them, and they had already treated so many bands horribly in the past. and they lost total respect for us. And so we wanted to be away from them once that was done. But we had done this creation that we're very proud of, but they weren't really pushing it the way they could have. You know, we had all these amazing elements around there, just like, all right. So a lot of those people are fans now. They had to go back and rediscover it because they had no idea. They're like, we do interviews or do things. They're like, yeah, Shepard Fairey did that. They're like, wait, what? You did this cover? You did a Black Flag cover? You did this cover? Or you
I got freaking what? Social Distortion right here. You know, it's like, I mean, obviously we were talking about it before. I'm a huge fan of Shepard's.
Oh yeah, and I was a big fan of his work and still am then. And so we had that transformation of leaving that label. It helped a lot. Like to get away from them and continue the process, but it was difficult, because we had a lot of backlash of different people just like, it's not the same, and it's like it's not going to ever be the same. Each album of Sepultura is always different, even with the old singer. It's just been what Sepultura is about, evolution, changing each album, not creating the same thing.
Yes.
Period. And not being afraid to try new stuff.
Yeah.
And that was something we're very proud of. And individually, we're these type of people. We need to create. And it's, that's why we do music. That's the love of it, is having that ability that freedom to do what you want to do, what you're feeling in that moment. Yeah. And a lot of writing goes on. It's because of the moment of what we're feeling at that moment. So, of course, we're going to be 4 years later different, or 2 years later different. Things have changed. We have family now. We've seen certain things. We're influenced by certain things. It's going to be different.
It's life.
You're right. It's life. It's like
literally life.
Literally life. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. But yeah, it's like look back at your own, like individuals, like look back at your own life. Like,
right.
Are you the same person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I mean, I was reading Obama's new book, right?
I heard
it's so fucking good. And he reads it, which is amazing. And it's the first part. It's it's one of the best books I've ever read. And he was talking about when he was kind of just starting out in politics, and it was 8 years before he became president, right? And he got invited to be at the DNC, right?
Okay.
And not invited to like speak or anything, just like to come. And so he gets there, and they wouldn't let him in. They wouldn't let him. They only allowed him in, like, because I guess it's like broken down in layers. It's like layer 1. It's like all the people on the inside, layer 2, outside layer 3, right? And so they just like let him in on like let's say like layer 3, but they didn't even let him in because they thought he thought he was gonna get into the DNC.
Yeah.
Well, then flash forward, 4 years later, he gets, 2 or 4 years later, he gets invited to speak at the DNC. 8 years later from that point, right, where he wasn't allowed in, he is now the Democratic nominee becoming president, right? Or eventually becoming president, months later, right? In 8 years, he went from pretty much like a low-level congressman, if you will, right? To then becoming the president of the United States of America. Your life can change dramatically in 5 years, 8 years.
Easily.
So for people to think that every album is going to be the same and it's not going to change, like
maybe they're delusional.
Well, exactly, literally. And maybe there are some artists that do that, right?
Right. But there are a lot of artists that try to cling on, unfortunately. I think more so than ever.
Yeah.
If it's if it's working and it's not broke, then, why change it?
Yeah, I know.
They come with certain formula and they just stick to it.
Yeah.
Which is, that's their prerogative to do that. But as an artist, I think it's important to challenge yourself.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, even look at like Machine Gun Kelly, him doing his punk rock album with Travis, right? Fucking awesome. I love it. It reminds me of old school Blink. Like it's awesome. And he's a rapper, you know? And he did it, right? And
he's from Cleveland as well. Right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, he is.
Notice this Cleveland thing going on.
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
a lot of Cleveland all-stars.
All right, you guys continue talking. I'm going to use the rest of the book.
It's with the integrations of all kinds of musical families coming together.
And not being afraid.
Yes.
You
come from a classical background. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like that. Classical background, going into your genre where you like, then working in a complete hip hop industry and now traveling over to Brazil. Now you're in a whole new country that has to have.
Oh yeah.
And it has a different feel.
Which is all about integration there, especially when it comes to music in Brazil. I mean, the mixture of, styles coming from Europe, from Africa, indigenous, all those cultures mix into creating this Brazilian type rhythm and sound as well.
So you have that automatic growl and that bass to your voice. Have you heard the Mongolian growls?
Yeah, and a lot of people have told me about this band also from Mongolia, Hu, H-U.
Yeah, you were telling me about it. I think you had that last podcast, right?
And when we played in Mongolia, a few of them were at our show. It was our first time playing there, and it was like a Mad Max world.
Damn, that's so freaking awesome. Have you always, let's check this out, huh? Yeah. There we go.
What's crazy? Yes.
I could sleep to that.
And then also too, what's weird is I get like even an Australian like
didgeridoo. Yeah.
So
didgeridoo.
You have the instruments, and then to be able to do that and manipulate your voice to sound like a didgeridoo and just
it's amazing.
And just hold it.
I love that.
I can't compare to that voice that you just had with that one.
I'm learning. No. It's a fun process. I definitely love trying different things and styles, but yeah, I've heard this before about
the Who.
And I was talking to my daughter actually before I came here today because she asked, who's going to be on the podcast and like what's the genre of their life, and I told her, and she's like, and I explained to her too, there is, oh gosh, what did I use the word? I forgot the word that I used, but metal is not appreciated, hardcore, all of in the same on the fact of how you can growl.
Yeah.
But then you can also hit like a falsetto.
Right.
To have that range of control through your voice and just power. I've been listening since also to, like I've re-upped. I haven't listened to it in a long time. And so, yeah, I'll be honest. And then, I have so like literally, if you go through my music files on my phone, you'll just be, K-pop. I got all kinds of stuff.
I think you'd be freaked out as well.
You know what? I wouldn't be freaked out. I'd actually let's change. Let's exchange some music. Yeah. Oh, you got some of this? Oh, let me see. I got some of this too.
Right.
And I told her underappreciated. That's what the word is looking for. This genre is underappreciated because they just think that, oh no, it's just like satanic and death and all this. But like, Slayer, Pantera, you guys have just like phenomenal vocal ranges.
It's raw emotion too.
That's what, and you get like, I don't know how many times you gave me the chills while I was listening. If you go turn my car on right now, that's what's playing. And you know what level it's at? It's at like 60.
Right.
When I turned it off to order my Star B, I had to wait to let my hearing readjust so I could hear what the lady was saying to me through the thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so let's bring it back to your story, right? Okay, so we were talking about before I left, right? We were talking about like the, writing the first album, second album, right? What year is this around, right? Like, cause
this was in 2000.
Okay.
2001.
2001 hits. You're still living out there.
The process was I joined the band. We did all this touring where it was just like, didn't live anywhere. I was just like, all over the place. But we did this promo tour and we're in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I was like, this place is magical. I was like, I could live here. Yeah. I don't have a child. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I was like, I can live anywhere I want. And we're always touring in Europe. So at that time, there was a friend of mine, and she was like, I have an extra room. She worked at Roadrunner Records, but started working at Epitaph.
Wow.
She was like, I have an extra room, and you can stay here for free. And I was like, I am staying here.
Yes.
And I would just stay there. And I lived there, and that was perfect for me. It's like after our tours, I would just go straight to Amsterdam and chill there. And then it was before the Euro. It was still the Guilder, and it was still relatively cheap to live there. And it was great times. It wasn't super packed.
Yeah.
Also, so it was the best time.
Did you ride a bike everywhere?
Everywhere. And I felt ridiculous when I didn't have my bike working. I was like, oh my God. But it was like everywhere, and the best people. I'm still friends with the majority of people that I made friends with then. And then after living there, after the whole touring cycle and process, then I moved to Brazil because I to write those albums.
Was this before 9/11?
This was before 9/11. Yep.
When 9/11 hits, what happens? I mean, because like everything kind of.
Yeah, I mean, then I did have a girlfriend, and she was from Queens.
Oh shit!
And she calls me, and she's like, "Wake up!" You know, like turn on the TV, and it was just like shaking. You know, I remember just in awe, like what's going on. You know, this is insanity. I even remember Brazilians crying. Like people were feeling it. It was just the worst feeling. You know, it was really hard. You know, it was so horrible to be so far away and to have, you know, all this going on. It was hard to process. And I just remember going there in October, right after it happened, and just the smell, you know, like I just remember just being in the air and just destroying your nasal cavities and your eyes, just even that after, you know, it was just like it took months and months. You know, just that feeling of just the whole country had changed, you know, especially New York. It was just like a whole nother world, you know, a whole nother city.
Yeah, it was, it didn't matter.
And the attitude. I mean, but this is what really struck me right away was the fact that when you're living outside of America, you look at it, of course, in a very different way.
Yes.
And so I've been living for some time outside, and then it was just like this rally call of like people like wanting blood. They're just like, we want revenge, you know? And it was like this uproar of patriotism of, you know, people just like not even knowing, you know, like this mob kind of building I was seeing in the media. And I was like, who are they going to attack? Like, they don't even know. No. And then they needed to pin it on. I could feel that happening. I was like, this is not good.
Oh my
God. And then this was like really heartbreaking, you know, to see this, like people just not knowing what to turn to, and they were just open to anything. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is really bad. You know, we're going to end up doing some stupid shit, which we did.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. And so what was the outside of like the way that people felt from outside of America?
That was a whole phase of that because I've been living so long, so I forgot about that. It was always like defending the U.S. when I was traveling a lot of times when in the Bush years. Everyone just really hating on America. Just like everywhere in Europe, or people like, well, you know that. And I was like, no, you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like you're talking about something you don't know. First of all, you've never been to America. So don't talk to me about American politics and about what we're doing in the world. It's like every country has done some bad shit. Majority of those countries have in their history. Yes. So it's like, get off of your fucking soapbox, especially if you've never been to America. It's you don't. So it's not just one thing you're seeing on TV.
Don't mean to.
So that was like the Bush times. I was like, fuck you. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Obama times, my God, man, it was like open arms, like in places like, oh yeah, man, hey, like I love your country. This is it was night and day. So weird. It was so weird. Like it was like. The love came back, you know, for it. I didn't realize there was such a hatred before, but I mean, God, I felt that, you know, it was just really a radical difference in world opinion. They were just like, oh, people were like a sigh of relief, you know, like, oh, I'm so happy to see things are much better there. Cause we have, you know, you know, what we're doing here has such an impact on so many places around the world. I don't think a lot of Americans realize it, but the politics have a lot that go on outside of here, you know, in other countries. And so people were relieved, you know, they're just like, oh, well, this can happen here too. And just really hopeful, especially in Brazil as well. They're just like, wow, this is great. With this change of even Trump leaving, they're like, oh, hopefully the same can happen here.
Yes.
You know, like, because we have this Trump type person, you know, and so we again, they're in a division as well, you know, like here, like the split. But it was very interesting, you know, seeing that from the outside and noticing. I was like, man, New York it will never be the same. But it was just, I could see like the weird negative shit happening when there were like bumper stickers and T-shirts and people profiting off it. I was like, here we go. We're going to make New York better than ever, you know? And it was like, you're going to make it unaffordable for anybody to live there. And it was just like all these deals going down and all these, high rents going up and condominiums
and high rises.
So it's
fucking
like boom.
And it just
quickly.
Quick.
Yeah.
And it came crashing down just recently. Right? We'll get to that though.
Right.
So this is like 2001, right?
Yeah.
2002 comes.
Kind of crazy, yeah. And then I'm living in Brazil, getting comfortable there. And it's still like kind of a battle being in a band, like getting people to really, I don't know, just to like old fans, they're just like, not coming around. And all right, is just be ourselves and still be creative and doing what we're doing. We even did a covers album where we did like songs of different bands that revolutionized music for us. So there was like Jane's Addiction. We did a cover of, we did Massive Attack cover, did a Public Enemy cover. We did the non-typical covers that people would assume that we would do. You know, they're like, I mean, we did do Hellhammer, and but we did Devo also. It's like just things that were just like out of nowhere, and again, people were still absorbed in this whole split, and a lot of people didn't even hear a lot of those songs. So, in one of my favorite covers that we did is Massive Attack.
Okay.
And I finally started, there was recognition of it, like when I was watching The Following, and somebody was like, yo, I think you guys your song is in this Following episode. And it was our Massive Attack cover. Damn. At the very end, it was like Edgar Allan Poe scene where he's like murdering or setting somebody on fire or something. I was like, holy shit. I was like, they're using almost the whole song. And
that's awesome.
I started getting feedback. Like people were like, wow, that's a great cover. And then I finally got to meet Massive Attack. And
no way, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So from that point, did you like, what was it like? You saw things start to change, like people becoming more accepting?
Definitely. I mean, we were becoming more confident as a band, playing together as our formation. And we started to notice that there was a younger generation of people who didn't know anything about the past, and they weren't really concerned about it. They were like, wow, what's happening now? This is cool.
Yes.
And as soon as it got to that point of like, wow, we're really been working hard. We got these albums, our drummer leaves, one of the original members. And that was like, holy shit, and we had like a really good tour set up. Like we wrote an album and we're like, this album is amazing. It's like based on Dante Alighieri's book, The Divine Comedy. And we have all these different parts and amazing artists from Sao Paulo. You have like orchestra parts in it. It's just like really beautiful album, like really incredible. And we spent so much time, and then our drummer was just like, I'm not going on tour. And we had a tour set up that was with this band In Flames from Sweden, and it was right at their peak of like really doing super, super well. And so we ended up taking another drummer, our friend Roy Mayorga, who plays in Stone Sour. At the time, Stone Sour was just starting. And he ended up doing the tour, and then we got back from tour, and our drummer was like, I'm out.
Shit.
And where I was like, wow, what are we going to do? Like we've gone through these ups and downs and weird, and we're at this point where it was so good, and we have a label that was actually believing in us, and then we were just like, we still want to do this. We're still believing that we could do this. Yeah. So we got another drummer, a Brazilian drummer, Jean Della Bella, and we started the process again, a different formation, and then again, people like, what's going on?
Oh, no. And then,
so we did 2 albums with this drummer, Jean, and on his second album, his sophomore album, again, people are like, okay, here we are. Yeah. This is sounding pretty cool. The album was Kairos, and it was just like really a lot of like really, we're just feeling very comfortable again from touring and everything. And then he was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to tour. I'm done. And I was just like, wow, we just got this label again, like supporting us. Very good label, Nuclear Blast from Europe. And they were just like, you can do whatever you want. And it was just like, they knew everything about the whole metal world, and they were just incredible. And we're just like, okay, what are we gonna, let's do this again. Like let's get a drummer. And then
that'd be so hard. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Super hard.
Like that'd be so fucking hard. I even like see it in your face while you're talking about it, dude. It's like
really.
It's like this perpetual freaking like cycle, and it's just like you get it, you get it, you get it. You're super tight again, and then
yeah. It was like you were. Oh no!
Fuck, man.
So we go back, and one of our producers during the time, a Brazilian sound engineer that we had, and he also produced an album. His name is Stanley Soares. He was like, "Hey, there's this kid who's an incredible drummer. He's Brazilian." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna check it out on YouTube." And I went to YouTube
now.
Yeah, YouTube
Shit.
now. I was like, "Let me check
Jesus
library."
Christ! What year are we in?
We're in like, what is it, like 2008?
Okay,
maybe 9.
Okay, yeah, but still.
Anyway, I was like, okay, let me check him out, and he's like 14 years old in the video, and it's like for Modern Drummer magazine, and they're like, the guy is speaking on stage, like, so we had a search for most incredible drummers, and we found the most outstanding drummer from Brazil, and we're gonna have him. We flew him out here. He's 14 years old. His name is Eloy Casagrande, and he came out and he does this solo, and it's just like mind blowing. I was like, we gotta have that guy. We gotta have that kid. Like, how old is he now? And he's like 20.
Oh,
at
shit.
the time,
Okay.
21.
Yes,
and
perfect.
it was just like, oh my God. It was like, he came in to do the audition, and he killed it. He knew every song. He was really into metal, but he was never playing in a metal band, really. He was playing in a band that was like kind of popular in Brazil, like a pop power band, rock band.
Okay.
But I mean, I knew, I was like, this is who we need. This is a person that loves to play metal, but he's never had that chance to. He wanted to try out in the band when our first drummer left. He was only 16 at the time or something like that. And his mom was like, no, he could have gotten in then. He was that good.
Holy shit.
But she was like, to go on the road at that age, it was like, nah, you should just wait. But then it was his time, and then he just killed it. Like, we did our first album with him, and it was just brutal. It was just so dark and sinister. Like, a lot of people were just like, oh my God, like, what? They were like, wow, this is intense, but what's going on?
Holy shit.
Second album with him was phenomenal. He really became super comfortable. I felt that we needed to go to like Sweden to record, because I was really getting into these Swedish producers and bands and their clean sound, but yet being very heavy and technical. And I felt that we never had a producer that was doing this with us, giving this clean sound, and but still was staying very brutal. And we ended up hooking up with Jens Bogren, who's done a lot of incredible work with Opeth and Creator and all these different classic bands. And we went there and recorded the second album, Machine Messiah, with our drummer Eloy, and after touring and everything, and he just killed it. And we expanded. I did some more singing type stuff on it, and they were like, let's have this be the first track. And I was like, really? Like, for all those metal people, I was like, they're gonna fucking lose their mind. Like, this is not Sepultura, man.
Yeah, of course.
But it was complete opposite. People were like, yo, that completely brought me into like, and the sound and everything, and the artwork. We had like, our guitarist went online and found this artist who had this work from the Philippines. She couldn't speak English at all, and she had a painting, and it was perfect for the album cover. It was like Machine Messiah. She had this idea of like technology being the new God, and that was the idea of the cell phone. This is the new Messiah.
Yeah.
This is where we get our answers from. It was Machine Messiah. She just happened to have this in the Philippines, like a painting, perfect. Wow. We didn't have to change anything, and we contacted her, like, through a friend I had in the Philippines, like, you reach out to her, because I don't think she speaks English, and we tried to contact her for the past half a year.
Wow.
And she had nothing to do with metal or anything, and we ended up buying the artwork from her. And that album blew, like, in a way where it blew up in a way that a lot of people who were talking shit in the past were just like, damn, you know, like they're on some serious like math metal, you know, type of style. We're really getting into intricate stuff, tighter than ever. And with him and his drumming ability, he's just so unique and so powerful. Like I'd never seen anybody play like him before, and everyone every time we play live would just be watching him. You know, from Lars, you know, like Metallica, they were just like, yo, this guy, like James Hetfield sitting on the side, you know, watching him play, and just all these drummers noticing, like, damn, this kid is, you know, he's good. Third album, which is the last album that we did, we ended up going with the same producer, and he just killed it. You know, it's like it just exceeded everything else. Wow. Then it was just like really feeling comfortable after playing with him, and having this whole new approach of writing our songs. I was living in California, and the other guys are there, and they're sending me music, taking our time in the writing process. Holy shit. Really preparing, going in the studio. Like we really have like a good rhythm of things, but we're just really pushing ourselves at the same time. So I want to do, you know, more like singing, more melody in the songs, you know. Yes. And so that developed over the past 2 albums, and the music started going in that direction as well. So it's like matched up very well, and it's just, you know, having that new energy, that youthful energy. We just started noticing like younger kids at the show, a whole generation of people going back to the older albums. Wow. You know, with me on them, and then the shows started getting better and better, you know, as far as like filling in, you know, the promoter just like, this is better tour than the last one. This is better than the last one. This is getting better. Wow. And so we started to really notice a whole new wave of fans, and also older fans coming back, like, wow, you know, like combining, you know, a set list of new songs and not, you know, and having respect for the old songs. Yeah. And not being afraid to play new songs. Because I notice if a lot of bands, they come out and they have a new album, they'll play like 2 songs. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And we were like, let's do the opposite. Let's play 6, 7 new songs. Yes. You know, and then we started getting messages from younger fans like, that's awesome. Fuck yeah. You know, do more of that. Play more new songs. Play more new songs. Play the new songs, you know, and we just believing in ourselves and just like, let's do it, you know, like it's just like really, you know, believe, like I was saying before, like when you believe in your songs, of course you should play those, you know. And I was listening to old stuff from like Black Sabbath, you know, and they would be like, oh, this is a new song, you know, Paranoid, you know, you hear the audience in the end, like, you know, it's just like, really? I was like, yeah, well, every band has to go through playing a new song and getting it, you know, the audience used to it. But you know, that journey that we went on with like drummers and everything, you know, with Deloy, it's just like really clicked in. Every drummer we've had have been super talented, like above and beyond. Yeah. But with Deloy, he was built to really play Sepultura and to play heavy music. I mean, if you go to his site and see the things that he's been doing, like even during this lockdown, you know, playing with different fans where he has some drum tracks, and then they're like, I have a guitar riff, and they'll match up. You know, he was doing that a lot during the whole lockdown. They're playing together, and I was just like, oh my God, like there were so many talented guitarists out there too, like young kids. Damn. But he's doing like intricate beats, you know, like math beats, and you know, like math metal.
He's just super technical.
He can be, you know, which is great, because every show that we would play, he would change it. It was always a little bit different. You know, he would just use that type of drummer. I was like, fuck, he has to challenge himself. You know, it's just, it's fun. I'm always learning with him, which is great, you know. So it really brought a lot of energy to us, I think, in the band, and our own, and what we do. Like our guitarists is writing better riffs than ever, you know, solos, and just really putting himself out there. I gave him some ideas of like some instrumental bands that I thought would be cool for him to check out. Like the Fucking Champs is this band that it's just all instrumental. There's no bass, two guitarists.
Seriously, pull him up. Yeah, just do like videos, YouTube the shit right there.
Videos. And
boom.
And so, it was I think influential. I mean, it was a big influence, I think, in some ideas. Because
this band?
Yeah, I mean, there's some instrumental songs that we have that are just like journeys, take you on a journey.
Yes, I love that, man.
Stuff. So,
but it just sounds like this. Your news drummer, man. It's he's breathed so much life into your band.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, he's a beast. I mean, his nickname was the Kid. Then it became like Big House, which is Casa Grande.
Yeah.
In Portuguese means. I mean, it's if you translate it, it's like Big House, Casa Grande, and he became the beast, the monster. You know, he's just like, to see him play live. I don't know if you can pull anything up. If you go to like Eloy,
Eloy,
Eloy, and then Casa, like Casa.
There you go.
Grande, Grande, and put Casa Grande together.
It's all one word, bro.
Yeah.
Right there, Brazilian drummer.
Right.
Boom, right there.
It's insane. I never seen it. There's one, People Equal Shit. He did like a
People Shit right there.
I think you can see a good video. That was like the most recent of just like, fucking around.
It's just I love that. All right.
There he is. No, I'm joking. He's also likes gardening and speaking to.
Is the audio not coming out? Okay, so hold on. I know why.
Okay.
Here, give me 1 second. Holy shit. This guy is a fucking beast.
The thing is, he's consistent. He plays with this power ×2 through a whole set. So even if you're not into metal or heavy music, you just like to watch, the energy.
It's got to be incredible for him, kind of very similar to you, like where it's like all of a sudden it's like one day you're this person, and then all of a sudden you're now fucking the drummer of Sepultura, right?
Yeah, and you have like the most ultimate drummers around the world like writing you, like, oh my God, you're killing it.
How's he taking all of that?
He's the most humble person in the world. He's such a good person, He's always taking care of his mother. It's like him and his mother primarily, and he's always taking care of her from the very, young age, and just very responsible, very focused, no drugs, no alcohol problem, just like really very professional about his craft, his instrument, taking it very seriously. It's just like, my God, I was like, are you a kid? Like, it's incredible. Like on the bus, he could be reading or writing, and just like there, going in the studio with him, like for him to do a whole album for us, it was like less than a week, it seemed, like he's just so there. Like, it's like, that's the take. Like that, 2 times, 3 times.
For him to track a record, seriously.
It's really like, the producer is just like in awe. He's like, I've never worked with anybody like this. He's like, the fact that he's so not only powerful, but precise. It's not only just about hitting the shit. It's just like intricate. And so for me, it was fascinating watching him in the studio because I got to hear without any music around. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know he did that, at times. It's just like, holy shit.
Damn, man.
But it's just like that energy, like got, brought so much into the band where people are like, man, this is the shit.
Holy shit.
Like really, especially on this last album and just getting, it's like really, we're feeling so comfortable after so many years of having different drummers and different people and combination, but this is feeling like we were able to really go to a different level with the music, and so.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. There are a few more things I want to talk about before we wrap this up, right? I guess just 2, and then I'll break it down, right? 1, plant-based, right? 2, how COVID has affected everything, right? Mm-hmm. Which one do you want to start with?
Start with plant-based.
All right.
I guess that started at the hardcore level.
Yes.
Like it started when I was 15, 16, and I started to question of course, everything.
Yes.
And then I was meeting all these different bands coming from New York, and a lot of these hardcore bands, they were straight edge or they worked in health food stores. They didn't eat meat. They would come through the city, and I was totally influenced by questioning. I was like, well, you know, like, would it make a difference if I stopped eating meat, or really, like, physically, would I feel anything? That was one question. Yeah. Another thing, I was reading books like The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, just about the intensity of what goes into making meat and how it has that impact on immigration, on people who were producing this meat, how it is produced, these companies, like, what are they about? So I was questioning them. I was like, I hate these companies, you know, from what I read and what they're doing. They actually don't give a shit about the planet or the people that are working and working for them, and also for the people they're serving or giving this food to. So I was like, I want to see if this actually makes a difference. I'm going to stop eating meat. And I did that. I was 15 years old. And I was really sick, I think, the first month. I was craving it.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, my mouth would be watering if I'd see a commercial or smelling it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, and it was kind of like going through a withdrawal.
Yeah.
But then after a month, I felt okay. And I was just like, really didn't want to go back to eating meat. So I just kind of stayed on that path for, you know, over 30 years now.
Damn.
and so then I started to learn about the dairy industry, and I took that out as well, and also all products, leather and everything. And
honey?
So, yeah, honey, I don't fuck with, and just, it was a slow process, you know. I mean, it was something as I learned, I was like, okay, seeing both sides,
yes,
you know, really weighing it in, and I figured it out that I really think it's important for people to discover on their own, at their own pace. I wouldn't expect somebody to stop cold turkey. Yep. And
no pun intended.
And so I think that's important, and I really dislike seeing them being pushed down people's throats.
I hate that shit.
I do too. It drives me crazy, and I don't eat.
No, I've been vegetarian for 5 years, right? And it was something that I had to come to on my own, right? And it's crazy to see the huge paradigm shift now, like, right, with all these companies,
right,
popping up. One thing that is a big misnomer is, like, just because you're vegan or vegetarian doesn't mean you're healthy, because there's a lot of shit out there that is terrible. These Impossible Burgers, although they're delicious, right? You eat enough of them, it's not going to be good for you, right?
You're going to have some high blood pressure. There's a lot of sodium in those. Exactly.
But how did you manage it at such a young age and eat and do it all, you know, obviously correctly?
It was definitely lifestyle, but it was something that I really looked into and I wanted to pursue, you know. It was something that I came to a realization. I started to realize it. It was a process, you know, and things got better in the industry as far as, like you're saying, it was inevitable that it was going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, we can't maintain the way that we've been going with the amount of, like, slaughtering of animals and destruction of the planet. I mean, it can keep going that way, but we're not going to have a planet, and we're not going to be able to survive in an environment that's completely, you know, destroying everything around us. So it took time and just learning about it, you know, reading about it and seeing it through people who were actually living that lifestyle. Having a lot of people and friends who were, you know, doing, like, certain marathons and certain things with their life. And I was like, wow, they're really pushing it, you know, and following this lifestyle. So it was hard on the road. But it got easier because people started to understand it a little bit more. So going to venues, like, for example, in Europe, they cook you a lot of meals at venues, and they started to be more thoughtful. You know, I come out and they're like, oh, this meal has a protein element to it. I'm like, great, because before it'd just be like, here's some, you know, pasta and some sauce, you know, and it'd be like, that's it, you know, or here's a salad. You know, like, there's your vegetarian meal. Like, hey, we got some grass outside too. And I was like, oh, we got a comedian, you know, like. And so it's like always the comedian there. I was like, you know, you're not funny. No. And I've heard all these jokes, you know, and it's just like, so I know. I was like, all right. But I started to notice, you know, like, people really having a little bit more respect for it. And like I said, it was inevitable that was going to happen. All that shit is, like, catching up.
Of course.
You know, and we're definitely feeling it now in COVID. especially when they're like, why is America so bad? Like, why is there all these cases? And it's like, well, you think about it, there's a lot of things going on before COVID. You know, you had half of the country overweight or obese or more. Yeah. Definitely more, I believe. High blood pressure, you know, diabetes, all these things affecting people for such a long period of time. And then you have COVID on top of that. You know, of course it's going to be bad, you know, and it's lifestyle, you know, the idea of thinking that you can eat, you know, cheeseburgers every day or this fast food, processed food every day, it's killing us. Of course. You know, and I think people are starting to realize that, and you have more and more doctors like, you need to eat more greens, you need to stop eating all this processed food. And nobody really listening until it actually happens to them, like, oh, I had a heart attack, or, you know, oh, I had, you know, people having serious health problems, and they're taking tons of medication for it. And I think the realization that's come around is the fact that you have people, they're able to show their example online again with technology and be like, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. There's alternatives to taking all the drugs and medicine that are being put to you if you change your lifestyle. You know, who said that you need to eat this way and be this way? You never questioned that before, and now you can question it, and there's options out there, you know, and tasty options. Very tasty. You know, because that was another thing. It was really not the tastiest back in the day. You know, it was like really like horrible, a lot of the stuff they were
like
creating.
a Boca burger or something like that.
Oh,
fucking hate those.
Right. But now I think there's a lot of chefs and people that are realizing that, hey, you can create great meals, recipes, not even using all the fake meat stuff that's out there, but just like naturally thinking of creative meals and just rethinking the way that we eat food and what we're creating and preparing. You know, when you think about it, you know, meat itself is not tasty when it's just meat. No. Like if you cook meat and just serve it with no seasoning, nothing, no flavoring, it's not going to have that much of a flavor, if anything. And so a lot of those flavorings can be put in with regular seasoning. Oh my gosh, yes. On things that aren't animals that had to be slaughtered or killed, you know. And so I think a lot of people are slowly realizing, and again, there's an industry that's booming in the plant-based world all over the world, not only in the US, but all over the world, in Middle America as well. And that, you know, knowing that, I wanted to show that, you know, and that was the idea that came about with Highway to Health, the program that Tanya O'Callaghan and I are working on.
That's how we met. Right? Because I had Tanya on the podcast. For people listening, why don't you explain what Highway to Health is?
Highway to Health is a show with Tanya O'Callaghan and I. Tanya is a musician as well. Yes. She's a bass player. She's rock and roll. She's killing it. She's played all over the world, and she's from Ireland. Mullingar. Right over there from Ireland there.
She likes to slap at a bass.
She likes to slap at the bass.
That's just for her, because she when we did our podcast, she goes, I fucking hate, like, I fucking hate when fucking guys say that, and I just tease her with it. But
so yeah, we had the same idea, like, let's have a TV show where we interview different people from all walks of life and talk about plant-based lifestyle, not only about food, but just about everything that has to do with changing the future and a better planet and a better place for everyone. So we wanted to combine that with also people that we know from the industry, and also all different walks of life, and just really show how it is to be on the road and what you can do. I really wanted to answer all those questions that people might have that aren't plant-based, because I hear a lot of them, like, how are you so big and getting the protein? You know, like, where are you buying this? It's so expensive. And, you know, really breaking those things down slowly. And we wanted to not only have plant-based people on the program, but people who aren't, you know, and show that, hey, it's a process, you know, it's a timing. If you stop eating, you know, meat for, let's say, 1 day a week, that's progress. That's incredible. And it's going to be good for you, the planet, and for the animals, of course. But it doesn't have to be radical. You know, it's like each person has to really make their own decision. And so we just want to put those, you know, those questions and answers out there, you know, but really keep it open for people too. Because we want to attract people who aren't plant-based to watch the show. You know, it's like we don't want to preach to the choir, you know, and so we really want to go after those people that have those questions, those honest questions. And when you look at a lot of those restaurants are out there now, plant-based, majority of the people going to them aren't even vegans.
No, it's just delicious, right?
Yeah, it's just delicious.
Yeah, it's absolutely delicious. Who are some of the guests that you guys have had on?
We had Kat Von D,
nice,
famous tattoo artist. We've had Moby. Nice. We've had Kevin Smith.
Nice.
We've had Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses.
Nice.
We've had Rufus Taylor from The Darkness. We've had a wide variety of different guests, but we're really going to be pushing more. We have one season done that we're out there now trying to sell to a network and believe that should happen soon.
Yes,
since a lot of content is needed.
It's amazing.
And it's positive content. You know, it's just something that people really would love to hear now, I think. And it's a twist because I've never seen any show like this.
Yeah.
And I love travel shows with food shows, and a lot of them go to places that are very exotic, and they're always eating like exotic animals and things that I would never buy. And I'm like, that place is ridiculous, and that's, you know, I would never go there. Most people I don't think would, but we want to show, you know, places that you could go to and places that you would like to try, and that don't involve like murder.
Yes, no, but it's true. It's true. Did you see Zac Efron's show?
I did.
Did you like that?
I thought it was. I thought they had the visuals were great. I don't know. It was just very fabricated in a way where, I don't know.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
But I think it was, you know, there were definitely positive points on it. And I think that was really cool that they're putting some type of message out there.
For sure.
Right.
But your show is different and unique.
Yeah.
And, it is. It is. No, it's for sure. It's different, bro.
And it's a real connection that we have, you know, with the people that we're doing interviews with. And there's the connection that we have as hosts, you know. And we've been doing this for a long time, and I think it's interesting because we're able to show a lot of things from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be great once things start to open up again and we can film. You can really see like backstage and what, you know, certain rockers or people are eating on the road and how that really works. And you know, we're going to show a lot of different things that I think people have always been curious about.
I absolutely love that. How has, you know, COVID affected all of this? Like, right, because like you're filming that show, right? You guys got a whole bunch in the can. When's the last time you guys went on tour?
God, tour, Jesus.
Like, what's that?
Yeah, I know. It's insane because they haven't stopped in 20 years. This is the first. I mean, this was the first summer that I had where I wasn't touring or doing anything.
Is that weird?
It's weird. It was weird. It's been a long time, man, way too long. I'm looking forward to getting back on the stage, but there were some really positive things that I realized from being locked down and in COVID. The first few weeks, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not leaving this bedroom. I'm not going outside anywhere." And it was just like, "Okay, here we go. Wake and bake."
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just that's all it's gonna be. And then it was like that ended very quickly. Going to like, okay, I need to have some type of agenda, or I'm going to lose my mind. Yeah. So I decided that I was like, I'm going to walk, since there's no gyms or anything. I was like, I'm going to walk every day, at least an hour, and do my own workouts at home and cook my own food like all the time. And so I just started doing, I did that.
Yeah.
And so then I lost like 30 pounds.
Holy
from
shit.
the very beginning. Yeah. And I was already like, you couldn't really tell if I was like gained a lot of weight because of my height.
Yeah.
And I could hold it pretty well. But then when I look at photos now, I'm like, oh my God.
Yep.
I was getting chunky.
Yeah.
And,
Thicker.
Yeah. I was just thick
Thicker
bone.
like a snicker.
Big boy.
I was like, big bone. It was like husky was the word that they used back, and I was a husky guy. And I started to realize that I was getting like I was denying it. Like when you like I got to like 40s, like mid 40s, like no, I'm still the same.
Yeah.
And people come up and meet you, and they're just like, "Hey, man," hit you on the stomach first. And
You're
I was
like, you
what's that about?
motherfucker.
Yeah, and I was like, "Damn it!" They're like, what's that all about? Like, why do they keep doing that? And then looking at photos and stuff, I was like, oh man, I was like, all right, in certain shirts, I was like, oh, this is, I guess the watch is shrinking this shirt.
Little medium.
Blame it on.
I better turn that dryer down. It's just like,
Gotta hang dry all my t-shirts, man. It's so true. It's fucking 30 pounds, though.
yeah. So I was like, oh man, and then I just got into like Rocky mode. It was like a mental thing.
Yeah.
It was like where I feel bad now if I don't walk for at least an hour and a half of getting that in. And why I say walking, because I didn't want to run because I'm too heavy for that as far as like impact on the knees, and too old. It's just not a good thing. Power walking, like as far as like walking at a speed, at a pace for a certain amount of time, really burns fat, a lot of fat, and it's really good for you for every part of your body, circulation, especially your mind. So I'd be making these playlists, like long playlists, and put it on. Like I'm excited. I haven't heard this song or new album in a long time, and just getting psyched up for that hour of just away from your cell phone as far as like connecting online, like sending messages, just like walking and doing it, treating yourself, and my body was really receptive to that. And I was like, wow, coming home and creating good meals and slowly losing that weight, where it was a natural process, and then I started getting into juicing, I was like, I'm going to just juice for like 2 weeks. And then people like, yo, you lost a freight, like seeing in my face. I was like, oh boy, this may have been like really radical. And then going back, I was like, wow, I gained that weight back pretty quickly. Yeah. So then I realized like intermittent fasting was like the way that I wanted to try after the juice cleanse. So I did the juice cleanse not for 2 weeks, only a week, and really drinking a lot more water during that, and slowly learning about doing it in a healthy way. And then with that intermittent fasting, keeping the weight off and eating whatever the hell I want to eat. Yeah. So it's not a diet. Oh. It's like I eat, between these hours, what I want to eat, and I want to eat something very good. Yeah. Because you're thinking like you're waiting to eat until that point, and you're like, I know what I want to eat. I know what my body needs. I know what's going to make me feel good. And you start to become more conscious about what you're going to eat and snack on. At least I did, because you feel it. And then when it's the cutoff point, it's the cutoff point. And then you have like reasonable snacks at times where you're like, you know what? I'm going to have some popcorn, It's like, but I'm still going to do this, and I'm going to do the walking, and I'm going to do the, the bare minimal of using barbell exercises at home. And it just like feeling really good about it. I was like, I could do barely 25 push-ups when I started. I remember I did a video at the beginning of COVID, and people were like, all right, 25. And now I'm like 100. I knock out like 40 in a row, and then I do 40. And it's just, mentally I had to get myself in that. I was like, I want to leave this, lockdown in total shape, like back at playing music again on stage, like on top. I don't want to have to build myself up after the lockdown. I want to come out of it feeling strong, like I survived this. So that was something that's always stayed in my mind. Like I don't want to lose that that drive from doing a new album, because our album came out and it was like, oh, lockdown, everybody, no touring or anything. And so I want to feel really good when things go back to some type of normal, a different normal, and just feel good, like be on top of it physically, mentally, and just ready to go. I love that. So I was been doing that consistently, staying positive, doing the voiceover work for Highway to Health, completing the season and the editing, and just, staying around a very small core of people, and positive people, staying away from the negativity, helps tremendously, so it's like a combination of those little things during the lockdown have kept my sanity, staying around people that you truly love, and communicating. Yes. Like I've done more reaching out than I ever have before this whole lockdown, and realizing like who's important to you, and why, and what you do for each other. And it's just really been something that I've tried to keep positive this lockdown, and thankful, that I live in such an incredible place, LA. You know, I look at other people and the weather and everything, and I'm just like, oh my God. Brutal. And it's like, what am I complaining about? I have my health, you know, which is super important for everything. And good people around me, you know, and just really being thankful for that, you know.
That's awesome, man. That is absolutely beautiful. I think that losing 30 pounds is fucking awesome, right?
That it's still, you know, I love that. And even the fact that I haven't been on a diet, you know.
Yeah,
like,
no.
People are like, yo, you eat donuts? I was like, I love donuts. I'm just not eating them every day.
Can you explain intermittent fasting to people? Sorry,
okay. So basically there's certain hours, it's like fasting, you know, like, but while you're sleeping, kind of, is when you're doing most of the fasting.
That's the most of your hours.
Right. So it's great. Like, I will wake up at, like, let's say 8 or 9 or 7, do a workout, coffee. Yeah. Start drinking coffee again because I can handle the caffeine or tea, and really good tea. And with coffee and tea that have that caffeine, it lowers your...
It curbs your hunger.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why you start your day with a cup of black coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Black coffee or dark tea, I think.
Or dark tea.
But I know it has to be the black coffee without like creamer and all that added stuff.
Yeah.
Just
that makes
a
sense.
strict black coffee.
That helps.
How long after, though?
Oh, okay. So then I usually will be eating at 2. 2 o'clock is my time. And then from 2 until 8 o'clock, I can be eating.
So 6 hours of the day.
Yeah, and that's really, a lot of times people like to do 8 hours, but for me, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But then you realize, like, your stomach will get to a position where it's like you won't overeat. You know, it will definitely you'll shrink to where you're getting enough to what you need to eat. Anyway, at night at 8, you're not usually moving around so much, and especially in this lockdown, you know, there's not much you can really do. So, like, keeping those hours at that time, it's great because that's when I'm most active and I really need food. I don't really need food at 8 at night when I'm sitting on the couch.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you know? And so that's it. And so when you go through that, you're pretty much fasting. So from then you're sleeping. Then there's 12 hours. You know, 8 in the morning again. You wake up, coffee. So it's like a relaxed fasting in a way, but you're eating what you want to eat, but you need to do the exercise part of it. And for me, the easiest, cheapest is walking. And then LA is the best place to walk. You know, nobody is walking, so you don't have a crowd of people who are worried about COVID. And you're walking through the most beautiful streets. You know, there's areas I discovered, like step areas, you know, in the Hollywood Hills and around there. It's just like beautiful history that I didn't really know too much about. But it was really like the weight, that whole walking, burning those calories, you know, it's like math, you know, it's like the amount that you're taking in, and you just start to think about the quality of food that you're going to eat within those hours. You want it to be the best because you're not going to eat for those amount, you know, a certain amount of time. So I learned so much about like different soups, you know, creating soups they can put in the freezer and they're like really healthy. Overnight oats, it's so
My wife
good.
loves that. Yeah, I got some in the fridge right now. I got the fire.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Anytime eating that, it's incredible because it's just takes you 2 seconds to.
Do you mash up a banana first?
Yeah.
Yes. You just showed
banana
me.
and blueberry and switch it up and mix it. A little bit of cinnamon. Ooh. And then just like very little bit, like a teaspoon, and then 2 teaspoons of maple syrup.
Oh,
I was reading that. It's just like boom, and chia seeds.
Love that.
Chia
seeds. Chia seeds.
And that cinnamon is that burner for your fat.
Yeah. Do you soy or almond milk?
Almond.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
It's so tasty.
Yeah. It's I literally have some in the fridge.
So cheap. Me too. I always have like 3 or 4 cups just sitting, waiting. I'm like, you know what? I need that snack.
Yeah.
It's so filling and so rewarding.
It is. It's absolutely delicious.
And it's gluten-free, right?
Yeah.
Oatmeal, there's
Yeah. It's good on your stomach, you know? And that's so awesome, man, because you're 50 years old, but you look fucking awesome.
I feel awesome. I mean, I remember going through certain phases. Like you're saying, you can be an unhealthy vegan.
Yeah.
And I remember like 30s, I was like, yeah, I'm going to rip this. I was ripped, like really working out. And then 40, it was just like, your metabolism just starts to slow down, I think, a lot. You know, I started to notice like, damn, it's just like I used to be able to burn this off like quickly from touring. I would realize because I would burn a lot.
Oh yeah.
And then it was like come back from tours like, I didn't lose so much this time, you know?
Damn.
And it's just like really getting away from that processed food. Yeah. I think learning to cook a lot at home helped a lot. Certain recipes, I was like, this is so easy.
Yeah.
And I'm saving so much money from eating out and just keeping a balance of things, you know, like if you are going to eat out and have like that, you know, stuff that it's good, you know, like Impossible and Beyond, it's like make it once a week, make it something enjoy, like, wow, I had it today and it's amazing. And then you can move on to something else. There's so many different things to try. So
it really is true. Oh my God, that's awesome. As we wrap this up, man, because
sun's going down.
The sun is, and he turns into a vampire.
No, it's like did you notice like when the clocks change? I was like, damn, it's like 7. Fuck,
it's so hate that.
Forward?
Yeah.
Or
fall back.
We were falling back. I was just like, oh my God, it's 6. And I was already in my pajamas. Like, oh, wait.
It just doesn't make sense anymore. Like, it just doesn't make sense anymore why we do it. But I guess the last question I want to ask is, why did you move back?
Oh, yes.
Why did you move back?
So it's intense to live in Brazil. Sao Paulo especially, and I was living there, and it's a city with over 20 million people. I mean, it's massive. It's massive. You think of New York, and it's like tiny in comparison. I mean, it's a city that has like helicopter traffic. You know, like people are going to work in helicopters. You know, the super rich and crazy businesses that are going on there, but there's a lot going on, and it's intense. And so I really started to miss a lot of things about America and even being a citizen here. You know, there were certain things I took for granted, and I couldn't really get resolved there. And I just really miss a lot of my family and friends and getting older. And I was like, you know what? I really want to be back in the States. I love when we have a chance to go and tour there. And I just felt that I needed to come back, and I miss a lot of the creativity that happens from being in the States and being around that type of energy. Not to say that Sao Paulo isn't creative, and it's a different energy. Yeah. And I just really missed it. You know, it's been long time, you know, away.
Yeah, a long time.
And I wanted to get into some different things here, like voiceover work and stuff like that, and just change it up, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Damn, that's incredible. I mean, you have one hell of a story, and
man, it's still going on.
It is. No, it is. As we close this down, what is the future? Right? What does the future look like for you, going forward after all this? Like, when are you guys gonna play your first show? Like, what the fuck does that even look like?
I mean, we'll probably have to do some type of live stream for the band. I don't know when. It's hard to say with everything COVID going on there in Brazil, let alone here. But we have a tour set up for November, December in Europe.
Okay.
We'll see if that happens. I'm being very optimistic about it, but if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be that discouraged, because it's like, we're not ready yet.
Not ready. I mean, the Super Bowl's going. They're like 1/3 or 1/4.
Australia, they have full-on rugby.
Yeah.
Like no mask, nobody.
You have that in the States now too. There's been states that have lifted the mask in America.
America's
just fucking weird. All right, let's just be honest. Like,
shout out to all those Karens.
Yeah, well, like straight up, man. And it's like, I don't know, man. Going forward, like regardless if the mask thing is taken away or not, like if I have a cold or something, I'm gonna rock a mask. I don't know. I like it.
I'm gonna be rocking a mask when I fly every time. You know,
Ooh, that's the nastiest place. Too.
Yeah. And I'm surprised I didn't wear one in the past.
Me too.
You know?
Do you realize that we are like, America is one of the only countries that are like that? Don't respect others.
Yeah,
you go over to like China or Japan, they wear masks because they're sick and they still have to go places. And so by being respectful to everyone else, I'm gonna put on a mask,
Right.
so I don't give you what I got.
Yeah, right.
It should just be a common courtesy thing now.
You would think so.
Getting on the subway in New York, like, bro,
You want to wear it, sometimes.
like straight up. Yeah. So
So we're we'll see how that goes, and with the show, we're still pushing, and hopefully we'll be able to start recording. I think we'll be able to move forward with that sooner than actual live shows.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. We really want to work on a second season. We have a lot of people that we want to interview and places that we want to go. And it's just growing, online. And we getting a lot of feedback from certain people. But once we have connected with the network where people can actually see it, then we do the real promoting and pushing. As far as letting people know that we exist and it's out there.
Dude, once you guys do that, once you guys lock it in, I'd love to have the both of you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be back here.
Yeah, because I love everything that you guys are doing. You guys are just so positive, and I really appreciate Tanya putting us in touch with one another.
Yeah. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Callahan.
Aye.
I've been working on my Irish accent there. That sometimes gets there. Sometimes it's very good. Sometimes it turns into a Jamaican accent there. You'll never know which way it's going to go. That's right, Selector. Come in there one time. And then it goes back to an Irish bro there.
Yeah.
Look at that, bro. So you got a very good lock on you, man.
I thank you very much for talking to me. And then sometimes it goes very English. So
I love that. Where can people find your information?
On the gram is how the kids are calling it. You have Highway to Health Official, and then you have Derrick Green Official. And you can find all the information there about what's going on the gram or Facebook.
Yes.
MySpace, I think, is closed down for us, but
I think that's just done, boys. I think it's done. All right.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Nice. He listens to your stuff.
Holy shit. Derrick, man, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure.
And until next time.
Until next time.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Woo! And that's that, baby. Wowzers. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. I want to thank Derrick for coming on to share his story. If you guys like this show, please hit my head that says subscribe to me. And if you guys want to watch some more amazing content, head over to RJ Show. RJ Show? No, I mean the drummer is strung out. Hit it right there. Peace.